good morning, everyone. Welcome to At America, the U.S. Embassy's American Center. I hope that everyone's doing great today. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Genara Jusuf, or you can call me Ara, and I will be the MC for today's event. For those of you new here, At America is the U.S. Embassy's American Center, and our mission is to provide a space for Indonesians to learn more about the United States through our programs, events, and also the facilities here that we provide. And our event for today is called Education USA Pre-Departure Orientation. And to begin, let us hear an opening remarks from the Political Counselor of the U.S. Embassy Jakarta. Please welcome Kyle Richardson.
Good evening to everyone in the United States, and selamat pagi to everyone here at America in Indonesia. It's my pleasure to join you for this pre-departure orientation program. We are so happy that you have chosen the United States as you pursue the next phase of your educational journey. I hope you find today's discussion useful as you prepare to live and study in the United States. I may be biased, but I think the United States is home to the finest universities in the world, having attended 2 of them myself. We are so proud to welcome so many Indonesian students to our campuses. I'd like to thank you, Professor Junaidi, Head of Internationalization of Campus Merdeka from the Ministry of Education, Culture, Research, and Technology for joining us this morning. I'd also like to thank our speakers representing university administrators, current students, and alumni of American universities. I greatly appreciate your joining us to share your insights and experiences. First, let me congratulate you on acceptance to U.S. universities and colleges. Salamat. You should be proud of your hard work and achievements. You're going to be joining more than 8,000 Indonesians currently studying in the United States at over 4,000 universities across the United States. Education is a top priority for us at the U.S. Embassy in Jakarta, and expanding and facilitating more students to study in the United States is one of our top goals. By studying in the United States, you are not only getting a top-notch education, but opening so many doors of opportunity no matter what field of academic course you pursue. This academic journey will challenge you in new ways and push you to think and see the world differently. It will also be a journey that rewards you with new friends, new skills, and greater knowledge in your field of study about the United States and about your own country. I hope you embrace these challenges and seek out as many opportunities as possible. I urge you to arrive on campus with an open mind and an eagerness to learn new things, new and different things. Students are a university's lifeblood, and each and every U.S. university will work hard to create an atmosphere that welcomes you and helps you achieve your goals. Remember to study hard, but don't forget to enjoy the experiences outside the classroom. Learning happens both in and out of the academic program, and I encourage you to volunteer on campus or in your local community, join a club or sports team, and travel to other cities and states. I hope you share Indonesia's vibrant culture with your American classmates on the campus as well. When you return to Indonesia, your skills will be highly sought after, and you'll become part of the U.S. alumni family. We look forward to connecting with you and working with you in the future. The people-to-people connections between Americans and Indonesians build the foundation for our strategic partnership. As student ambassadors for Indonesia, the connections you build with Americans will help strengthen the ties between our 2 countries. Finally, I wish you the best as you embark on what will be an exciting and life-changing journey. Good luck, thank you, and happy travels. Salamat jalan.
All right, thank you so much, Pak Kyle Richardson, for the very insightful opening remark. Next, we will have another opening remark from the Head of Internationalization of Campus Merdeka, Project Management Office of the Ministry of Education, Culture, Research, and Technology. Please welcome Professor Junaidi.
Good morning, everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi, salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan. First of all, I'd like to greet Pak Kyle Richardson, Political Counselor of U.S. Embassy, Ibu Mary, Trechok, Assistant Cultural Affairs Officers, and Ibu Mariel Baza from the Vice Chancellor. It's my honor to be here in front of the future leaders of Indonesia who will very soon travel to US to study and experience the great culture of the USA. You are very fortunate. Some of you have been selected very rigorously. So for example, for ISMA program, last year there were about more than 7,000 applicants, and we only select a few. And I'm also pleased to learn that this year we will send about 191 students, ISMA students, for example, to the US. Also for the undergraduate, from undergraduate as well as vocational. It's an increasing, there is an increase, significant increase when we started in 2021 with about 106 awardee. And some of you are taking other program, Indonesia Maju, and also from LPDP. So for that, I would like to congratulate you for your achievement and hope that you will enjoy United States in as much as I did when I traveled to the US. So it's a very big country. So if you travel from New York to San Francisco by cars, maybe you need more than 2 days. But it's a great experience for you. So as Pak Kyle mentions, please enjoy your study, build network with the professors, academics, and also local Americans there. So and also please also contact our embassy, especially during a special event. There are some good food there that you may miss, so please join them. And then next, I'd also like to appreciate U.S. Embassy for especially from the education that helps our program so far, since the beginning of the program. So thank you very much for your support, and I hope that the awardee will receive the same support. And also, I'd like also to, for the awardees, I'd like to mention as well that studying abroad is a very life-changing experience. So I think by studying abroad, it will change you, hopefully for the good. It will be very transformative and even change your way of life. So, but you are very lucky. Not many Indonesians got this experience, especially with our policy. Before, maybe we have to wait for our master's or PhD to go to the States. And now, undergraduate students can go to the States, even for one semester. So please use this opportunity to learn as much as you can, experience the culture, make friends, build network, and also return to Indonesia with inspiring ideas for the development of Indonesia. So once again, thank you so much for this. Selamat jalan, give your best, and wish you a very successful future. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Om Santi Santi Om.
All right, thank you so much once again, Prof. Junaidi. Next, we're going to have a photo session. Therefore, I would like to once again invite Pak Carl Richardson, Prof. Junaidi, also Bu Mary Trishak, and all the speakers and moderators to come up to the stage to take a photo together. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. Next, we'll be moving on to our discussion session. And our first discussion session, we will be discussing about international student orientation and also preparation. Therefore, I would like to invite our Education USA advisor. Please welcome Kak May Latupono.
Good morning, everyone. Well, we gotta be more pumped up for this event. Good morning, everybody. It's so good to see you. Welcome to our pre-departure orientation. My name is May Latupono. I'm one of the Education USA advisors, and I will be your moderator for this first session. Thank you, Ara, for introducing me. Well, before we get into our sessions and before we get to meet our wonderful speaker, I would like to introduce you to Education USA Indonesia. Well, anybody, have you ever heard or meet our advisors at Education USA Indonesia before? Have you? Raise your hand, don't be shy. Okay, one over there. Oh, 10 over there. So many. Okay, more? No? Well, it's happy to see familiar faces. And again, congratulations for you guys for making it to this journey. But with Education USA, have anybody known about us before? Do you know any? Okay, so Education USA is an advising network from the US Department of States in more than 175 countries and territories. And we are here to promote US higher education by providing you guys with comprehensive, current, and accurate information about opportunities to study in the United States. So if you see here, we have 6 centers in total, one in Aceh, one in Surabaya, one in Malang, Makassar, and 2 in Jakarta, here at America and the US Embassy. And you guys can meet us or can book a schedule with us to discuss about your journey to the United States. You can scan the barcode over there or go to the link here, calendly.com/educationusa Indonesia to meet one of our advisors. So when you meet one of our advisors, you can discuss these 5 steps. So the first one is to research your option to help you find the best fit schools for you. And then the second one, we can talk about finance your study. So we can talk about the fund options or the scholarship. Anyone here go with LPDP? Wow, so many. One Fulbright? Oh, over there. Isma. So many again. Okay, and there's many more programs and opportunities you guys can go. So we can discuss about that. And then the third one is gonna be about completing your documents or applications. And bring your CV, bring your resume and essay to us, and we can review it for you. And our service are free of charge. And then the number 4 is gonna be apply for your student visa, which is also one of the sessions we're gonna talk about today. And then the last one is today, prepare for your departure. So here we are for you. And yeah, so feel free, again, our services are free of charge, so don't hesitate to book your appointment with us. And are you guys ready to our session? Are you guys excited? Okay, so I will be your moderator again, so please don't be bored of me. And then we're gonna talk about international students orientation and preparations. So today we will be joined by one of the wonderful speakers. She is an assistant director of graduate recruitment at the SUNY University at Albany in Albany, New York. Anyone going to New York? Oh, one over there. Okay, good morning, Chloe.
Hello, good morning. It's such an honor to be here.
Okay, we will have 45 minutes session in total. So we will have 15 minutes Q&A sessions after your presentations. And without further ado, I will give the floor for you.
Okay, all right. So again, like May said, my name is Chloe Glenn. I'm the Assistant Director of Graduate Recruitment at the University at Albany, located in Albany, New York. And as I said, it is such an honor to be here with all of you today. I am so excited for you and just, can't wait to, hear about all your success as you travel to your schools in the United States. So move to the next slide. And first of all, I just have to say congratulations on your amazing adventure again. I think you as students taking the chance to study overseas, I can't tell you how much I admire your bravery, your courage, your intelligence. So you really should be feeling just wonderful about yourselves today because what you are doing is just fantastic. So again, before we start anything, I just want to say congratulations again to all of you. So it's going to be a wonderful adventure that you'll have. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit just kind of generally about life at university. Many of you obviously have already have undergraduate degrees or, may have graduate degrees already. So you may have some experience, obviously being in higher education. And the universities in the US are very similar. So you'll see kind of some of the same things that you might be used to. But US universities are really like small communities. So they are both academic and social. So it's not just about classes all the time. There is a lot of social events that you can be a part of, clubs, fairs, things like that we'll kind of talk about a little bit more. But it really is sometimes can seem like a small town. Some universities kind of have that sort of feel where you have places to eat, where you have places to study. So you'll just, there's a lot of variety on campuses depending on their size. So they will normally have a campus center or a union kind of being the center. And that's where, again, places where students eat, places where students study. They might have different events that happen within that student union. So again, just the way the most schools are kind of laid out is similar to this fashion. When you first arrive on campus, obviously it's going to be overwhelming. You're going to get on your plane, you're going to be tired from your flight. And the first thing to kind of get yourself settled is just to ask about your resources or look in advance. If you are able to look on the university's website, if you're able to research the town you're going to be in, really look at that community and see what resources are available that can help you just maybe feel a little bit more comfortable or maybe find some reminders of home. Because you might need that in the first couple months when you're there just to kind of settle yourself and feel a little bit more comfortable. So, feel free on these campuses to ask either admissions staff or other students about places of worship, restaurants, festivals, community centers, different clubs on campus, anything that you might be interested in or that would help make your transition a little bit easier and help you feeling, again, just a little bit more settled. Feel free to ask. Don't neglect feeling connected when you first start at these universities because it can be an overwhelming feeling. When you go into these classes with your professors, some of the interactions with them may be a little bit more informal. You may notice that. It really depends. So there isn't a hard and fast rule with professors in the United States of, how they're going to be or their personalities. It's going to be, pretty varied. But again, sometimes they might be a little bit more informal. Some professors may even ask that you call them by their first names. They'll tell you that if they prefer that. But again, it is important to maintain, as you are all probably used to, a professional relationship with your teachers. As you get into the setting of graduate studies, like if you're going for a PhD or you're going for a master's degree, you may start to really notice that you become almost like a peer with your professors. It's kind of on that same level where you might be doing research together, you might be doing projects together. So it definitely can be a little bit different depending on what degree you're going for. So if you're going for a bachelor's, the relationship may be a little bit different, again, as I said, opposed to master's or PhD. In general, in U.S. universities, questions are really encouraged in classes. A lot of classes may be discussion-based, which means that there's going to be a lot of talk back and forth with the professor, a lot of student involvement. So, you are not expected just to sit there and listen. There is going to be a lot of interaction when you're in these classes most of the time. And you're really encouraged to engage in critical thinking, whether that's, working with the professor or other students on different projects or thinking about the readings that you've been assigned. It really is a big part of the classroom within U.S. universities. And again, it may be something that you're already used to. Having a plan for time management. So, whenever you're going to be obviously in a new environment, kind of setting up a routine for yourself. And this is something that I encourage all students to do. So whether they're American students, whether they're from, other countries around the world, creating a routine for yourself when you first start out in these classes is going to be really, really helpful. Just having a time when you're going to study, having a place on campus maybe where you feel comfortable studying in. So maybe kind of exploring that, whether it's in a library, whether it's maybe in a classroom, finding some place where you feel comfortable doing your work and that is consistent for you is going to be really important. The other thing that can be helpful is whether it's on your phone, whether it's written down, whether it's on your computer, is to create a calendar for yourself, create a schedule for yourself that can allow you to see what you have going on in each of your classes each week and really allow you to keep up with assignments early on. I think that's the biggest thing, is that it can be very easy to get behind quickly sometimes, given the pace of some of these classes. And so it's really important that from the beginning, you're looking over the assignments that are expected of you, you're looking over the projects, you're asking questions. And again, you're also creating that schedule for yourself so that you do feel comfortable once everything gets started as the semester goes on, because it can go very quickly. So we can go to the next slide. So again, I can't emphasize this enough. I'm going to be kind of returning to this theme over and over, but finding support as an international student is so important. So, it's very common for people to start off in their studies in the US feeling very hopeful and excited, and that's wonderful. And there's also going to be times when you feel overwhelmed and you may be really shocked at how different things are, or, how you have to get, used to a certain, thing or a certain routine that's very different from what you would normally feel when you're at home. So this is very common. All these feelings are going to be very common. And it's going to be very normal for a lot of students. It's even normal for American students who just move across the country to go to school, or move, 100 miles north or south to go to school. So, it can be a feeling that all students feel during their time, not just international students. But since you're coming from a great distance, it really is important to be kind to yourself during this time and to really understand that it's okay to have those feelings of being overwhelmed, and that it is going to come up at some point. When you have a chance to kind of think about it, think about a routine when communicating with people from home. Maybe set up a schedule with your families of maybe when you call them each week. So, if you find that your classes are really light on Fridays and it's easy for you to call home, set up a schedule and really reach out to the people in your life and really make sure that you're reaching out to your support network at home, just so you can have those reminders of people that are important to you and that are there to support you. There are also many people that want to support you on your campuses. So it's just a matter of making sure that you ask. So it may not be obvious at first where the help is or where the resources are. So it's really important that you ask early on where the resources, where the support is that can help you feel safe and comfortable when you're on campus. So we're going to get into in a minute what some universities have is known as an International Student and Scholar Services Office. So this is one of the resources you can ask about. And again, we'll kind of get into that in a little bit. But also asking about, university counseling centers, which can be a place where students can go if they're feeling overwhelmed. Any clubs or student events that might help you meet other people or just to feel more comfortable. Just making sure you're asking those questions. So it's not something that is looked down upon in the US. Questions are a big thing. It's okay to ask questions. So just making sure that you have what you need to feel comfortable in your journey. That's going to be really important as you kind of step into this new adventure that you're going to be on. So again, don't hesitate to reach out for support if you feel overwhelmed or if you feel discouraged. It's very normal. Nobody is born knowing how to go to college. It's really a process that everybody has to go through and learn. So please always feel free to reach out for support when you need it. We can go to the next slide. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about that. So we can go ahead and talk further about this. All right, so this was the office that I referenced. So the International Student and Scholar Services Office, it may go by different names at different universities, but it's going to have a similar function in each university that you might attend. So this is really important to ask when you first come to campus, or even before you come to campus, if there is an office that really works primarily with international students, and there should be. And you may be working with them from the very beginning. So you may be working with them for student orientation. They may have a student orientation where, a week before classes, you learn a little bit more about what you'll be, doing on campus, or where things are located, or how your classes are going to be set up. So you may already have contact with this office. But most of these offices, again, provide a new student orientation. They connect students with cultural and community resources that might be familiar or interesting or just helpful while they are staying in the U.S. If you happen to need any language assistance, they often offer that. They also plan activities and trips just so you can get to know the community a little bit better. They may also offer academic resources, or they may know where the academic resources are available on campus, whether that's through your professors or at the library. They normally have really, really great ideas and help for you if you happen to need that, especially within the first few months of your classes when you're just getting used to how they work. They also can be a really wonderful resource for questions on immigration or visa regulation and kind of maintaining your status as a student. A lot of times those regulations can be very difficult to think about, or they can be kind of overwhelming to look at. And so this is a really wonderful office. If you do have questions about your visa status while you're an admitted student, they can be a really great resource for that. And they can also offer information on employment or internships. So it can, again, it's a wonderful office to look for. Most schools call it an International Student and Scholar Services Office, but again, it can go by different names. So just, feel free to ask when you're on campus, is there an office that primarily works with international students? And definitely connect with them, because this is a really wonderful resource that is provided in a lot of U.S. universities. So you can go ahead. So connecting with fellow students, so it's very, very easy. This was something that I struggled with as a student, where you're so focused on your classes that you really forget to build those connections with fellow students. And so it's really important to, look for, again, those resources on campus. A lot of events and resources are really focused on undergraduate students, so students going for their bachelor's degree. So if you're a master's or a PhD student, definitely ask if there is a graduate student association. That's something that UAlbany has on campus, that is an office specifically for graduate students and resources to assist graduate students. So, don't feel like as a graduate student that you're kind of all by yourself and you have to, just figure everything out on your own. There should be some resources available for you as well. New student orientations for both the school itself, the entire school, and the academic program that you're going to be in might be offered. So it's always good to watch your email before you depart to the U.S. and also ask when you come to campus, are there any orientations or open houses that can help me just feel a little bit more comfortable with campus and know where things are at. So definitely ask or make sure that you sign up for those orientations if they are offered to you. Another thing to sign up for, if you can, through your particular university, is either academic or student listservs. And these are like email kind of chains that can go out. That can, again, help you to learn about events that are on campus. So you may start to receive information emails that tell you a little bit more about the events on campus, or ways to kind of get to know your fellow students a little bit more. Definitely don't brush those emails and those listservs aside. It really is a great way to get to know fellow students and again, help yourself to feel more comfortable, either getting to know fellow international students or, other students on campus. It's a really wonderful way to just keep yourself informed. Another thing that universities often have is resource fairs. So these are events where maybe many different resources from the campus come together, different offices that offer different resources to students all come together in kind of a fair setting. And they will have different tables with, different resources and different, just kind of ways that you can get involved on campus. These are wonderful to attend. So So if you happen to see anything that is offered in that way, take advantage of that, and definitely attend. There may also be Facebook groups associated with your university. So there's some often for graduate students, undergraduate students, some that are specific for international students. So if you haven't yet been invited to one of those Facebook groups, it's a really great thing to ask and see if the university has those. Sometimes they can be a great resource for finding housing. Sometimes they can be really helpful just to learn about different clubs on campus or different events. So it is a great thing to look for and to join if you are able to. And then different clubs and organizations on campus. The US has a lot of different activities for college students on campus. Any sort of activity you can think of doing, a lot of schools will have pretty much everything. So, anything from athletics to, film, community service. If you like hiking, want to be in the outdoors, there are other clubs that really focus on academics. So, make sure that you are reaching out to those and getting involved and connecting with people, because it will make your university experience that much more wonderful. So academic services, so we're going to switch gears a little bit, talking about specifically resources for academic assistance. So in most universities, there may be a writing center available. So academic writing and writing for essays and projects and papers can be a little bit difficult to kind of get used to that format. And it's something that, American students have to get used to. Everybody really has to get used to, is how to write as a college student. And so it is, really encouraged by a lot of professors that, you visit the Writing Center early on if you need help formatting your essays or editing your essays, or just getting started on writing an essay for your college classes. That is going to be a big part of a lot of these programs. Is, there is going to be a lot of writing. There is going to be a lot of more technical and academic writing. And so if you, at all feel like you just need to improve on that, writing centers are a great place to start. And they're often offered at most universities. Sometimes in the library is where they will often be located. But it is a resource definitely to ask about. Speaking of libraries, this is a wonderful resource. If you are looking for assistance with finding research for an essay or for a project, there are usually research librarians that can help you at most universities. If they happen to not have a certain resource that you need or a certain book that you need, there are often interlibrary loan systems where if the school does not have the book, they can ask another library to bring it over and allow you to use it. So, definitely work with the research librarians, because they can help you with that. There's also tutoring services. So it's really important, if you feel like you're falling behind in your classes, or you feel like you're just not understanding a certain subject, talking to your professors, seeing if there are peer tutors, asking about tutoring in the library, usually, again, is where those services are located. Definitely ask early on if you feel like you may be even falling behind a little bit. It's really important to feel comfortable asking for help early on. There are also, as I mentioned earlier, student associations for both undergrad and graduate students. So it may be support specifically for those students in those particular grades. They may offer opportunities for professional development, like if you want to attend a conference or, just work in a certain internship, they might have resources for that. They also may have, printing. So if you, don't have a printer and you need to print something, they usually will have resources for that. Another wonderful place to visit on campus is the Career Center. Most universities have a Career Center. And what a Career Center is they will have a place where you can get assistance with your resume, get assistance with finding internships, finding jobs on campus, and they will often help you after you've graduated. So if you want to continue getting assistance with writing your resume or improving that, they will help alumni or students that have already graduated. So it's a wonderful resource to use early on in your time as a student. So again, most universities will have a career center, so it's a great thing to ask about. And the last thing is really looking at your professors as a resource. They are really should be dedicated to your experience as a student. So, getting to know your professors. It's okay to talk to them after, classes are over if you have questions, if you, need to meet with them during office hours. Office hours are a really wonderful thing where there's time during the week where you can meet with your professor one-on-one and just get assistance with any questions or just learn more about a particular subject. And it's a wonderful thing to use office hours as a resource to, again, get to know your professor or also to get extra help if you're concerned about your performance in the class. So again, looking to your professors to talk about not only what you're doing in the class, but also any research projects that you might be involved in. There may be clinical placements that you can get involved in if you're in a particular major that does clinical placements, field research where you are kind of having that experiential learning outside of the classroom. That can be something that your professors will know a lot about. And so they're great resources and they like when students talk to them. They like when students ask questions. So it's a wonderful thing to really make use of that time with the faculty and learning from them as much as possible. So other resources to think about. All right, so funding and employment opportunities. This is always a big question for any student at any university. Looking at opportunities that might be on campus to help fund your education. So asking and really looking at your different options, not only within the university itself, but within your specific program, because sometimes there will be different opportunities within your specific program. Like there may be a scholarship or funding opportunities if you're going into chemistry, specifically through the chemistry department. And there are also maybe different opportunities through the university itself, scholarships that are open to anybody in any major. So it's good to ask about both types of opportunities to see what might be available for your use. So in terms of, this is typically on the graduate level, but a lot of times undergraduate students can also get what's called assistantships. So these are either teaching or research positions that are on campus, usually through the academic department. Sometimes they may be through another office on campus, but they can often fund your tuition or at least help with tuition assistance or offer a living stipend. So it's good to ask about assistantships, even at the undergrad level, if they are able to offer any in your particular program. Merit funding, if you can look for that, a lot of times merit funding is based on academic performance or past academic performance. And so you may be able to get merit funding because of your prior performance as a student or because of your current performance. So even after you become a student, sometimes you can get funding or get certain types of scholarships while you're studying as a student. It doesn't just have to be before you enroll. So it is a great thing to ask about to see if your program or the university offers more of that type of funding for international students specifically. And then again, looking for scholarships at the university and through the program, asking those questions, not only of the financial aid office, which most universities will have a financial aid office that deals specifically with student finances, but also just the academic program or your academic advisor to see if they know anything about funding through their programs. For international students who want to maybe work on campus, through visa regulations, you usually can work up to 20 hours a week as an international student. Many students can apply for what's known as CPT or curricular practical training or optional practical training. And this is just kind of like an internship where you can gain experience outside of the classroom in your particular field. So it's always good to ask those questions about those types of experiences and obviously making sure they fall in within the visa regulations, but they are really wonderful opportunities for you to just add more experience to your resume. Housing on campus. So housing is, it's a great way to meet people if you live on campus. Usually they have an office, usually called Residence Life or Residential Life on university campuses that has resources about housing, and they can provide more information about how to sign up for that. Off campus, many students end up living off campus as students, and some universities will have what's known as a housing guide or a housing registry that kind of lists the most common options for students to live off campus, or places where they live, or neighborhoods where they might live. So definitely asking about those early on if you're concerned about housing, asking those questions right now if you haven't already, to know where you might be living. And then in any case where you're renting a apartment, or you're renting a room in a house, or whatever you might be doing, anytime you're renting anything in the US, it must come with what's known as a lease agreement that goes through your rights and responsibilities as a tenant and your time living there. So just making sure that you understand what's expected of you in the places that you live, and that you're being treated fairly. So, and if you have concerns about that, usually the International Student and Scholar Services Office on campus can provide some resources on that as well, or the admissions office can also help you if you have any concerns about that as well. All right, we're going to go through a little bit on campus safety. All right, so while on campus, and this is really just kind of basic knowledge anywhere you are in the world. So you just kind of have to be aware of your surroundings, and just making sure that you know the resources that may be available for your specific university. So, while on campus, campuses are usually incredibly safe places. But, if anything does happen, it is good to know where you can get help and where you can get support. So for most universities, the university police department is the main resource for campus safety at universities. They will usually have different programs that might be available. Like, let's say you're studying at the library late at night and you just feel a little bit, nervous walking back to your dorm room or where you live. They may have programs that, an officer can walk with you to your particular living space. So it can usually be very helpful. Another thing that a lot of universities have is called blue light phones. So they're usually like little posts that have a blue light on them and a telephone. And if you are in a situation, and they're usually scattered all over campus, and if you're in a situation where you need to maybe reach the police right away, or you don't have your cell phone on you, or just something is going on where you don't feel comfortable, you can pick up one of these blue light telephones, and you can talk to a university police immediately. It connects right to their department. So that is something to look for while you're on campus. It's available. Most campuses have these. Another thing to kind of look for or sign up for is university alert systems. So a lot of times if there is a situation or just something to be cautious of at the university, they will send alerts out either by text or by email. And so it's really great to sign up for both of those options just to keep yourself aware if anything should happen. You want to make sure you are aware of what's going on campus should the need arise. And then just kind of in general, just developing not only safe habits when you're kind of out in the world, but also when you're using online and internet systems. So, making sure that you are, not storing your payment information on public computers, not sharing it, oversharing personal information on social media accounts, changing your passwords, be cautious of public networks, all of that good stuff. So again, these are just some things that, you all probably already know, but it's a good thing to kind of continue to practice while you're on campus at most universities. Lastly, tests and prerequisites. So if you are concerned that maybe you need to take a prerequisite class, or if it's something maybe that you need to speak with, about the your university or the classes you need to take, making sure you're talking with your advisor either while you're enrolling for classes or before, just so you kind of understand, what might be expected of you before classes begin. If you have not spoken to your academic advisor yet or made your class schedule, please definitely do so, or make sure you're following those deadlines whenever the university would like you to sign up for classes by. And they can answer any questions about curriculum, or again, any prerequisites or classes that you might need to take before you start the semester. They are great resources for those. those. And then just double checking if you can call the admissions office or check your accounts online or your email, just making sure that you are sending in any final documentation, your final transcripts, any language proficiency tests you might have needed to take, any other needed materials that they may require. Just making sure everything is in before classes start. You don't want to be, worrying about getting the documentation in, while you're trying to sign up for classes or while classes are beginning. So just making sure all of that, all of those tasks are done with admissions, so that you can start your first week of classes feeling very confident and comfortable.
All right. Thank you, Chloe, for the wonderful information. This is very helpful. And right now, we're going to go for the Q&A session. So guys, if you have any questions, please raise your hand and state your name. And people online, we also have some friends of us joining from Zoom and also social media. Please, if you have any questions, please write them down in your chat box. So we're gonna go from the on-site questions first. So anyone wants to ask a question, please raise your hands and state your name. Any questions at all about probably adjusting in the universities in the US? Concerns? Or
Did I explain everything? I couldn't have explained everything. There must be questions out there.
Okay, there's one over there. Oh, okay.
Hello, my name is Josephine. I'm actually going to start my master degree in Phoenix, Arizona this August. And I'm actually having difficulty in finding the off-campus housing. It seems like for students, they do need a guarantor. Is that the case for all of the states, or is there any suggestion that you could give me to make those process easier?
Sure. So I am actually originally from Arizona, so I'm very excited that you are going to be. Yes, this is very exciting. So it's going to be different with each place that you go. I can't guarantee in terms of off-campus housing. Normally that is not really looked over by the university, or they don't vet off-campus housing, like they don't vet landlords, or they don't usually do a lot of that stuff in terms of off-campus. Mainly they're focused on on-campus housing. In terms of guarantors, sometimes you will need that for certain landlords. Like if you're working with a particular landlord or a particular company, they may ask for that. Again, it's really a case-by-case basis, unfortunately. So I think asking the university if they have one of those housing registries or housing guides where maybe they know landlords that have maybe rented to international students in the past, that can be a really good place to start. And also asking other current students, like if maybe the admissions office doesn't know, saying, are there any other students from Indonesia or anywhere else that you could put me in touch with, that I could talk with about housing or my concerns around housing. So I think asking fellow students, asking for those recommendations of landlords that maybe they have, other students have worked with in the past, and getting on those Facebook groups and kind of asking, seeing what might be available. So unfortunately, I don't have like a specific answer because everywhere is so different. But I would definitely start with asking the university and just saying, I'm running into this issue. Is there anybody that can help me, or has this ever happened to other students before? And I think the International Student and Scholar Services Office, whatever might be available at your university in Phoenix, definitely asking that and asking if there's an office specific for international students that you could talk to about this issue, definitely.
Thank you so much. I do have another question, though, if you don't mind.
Yes, please. Yes.
I've heard from a lot of my colleagues and friends that the credit score actually helps in renting an apartment. Do you have any information how I can obtain that credit score?
So it depends. So some landlords will check credit scores. So if it is and again, I can't say across the board, but landlords that work for like big apartment complexes or through like companies, if they have like a property management company, a lot of times they will check for credit scores. Sometimes private landlords, like a landlord that may just own a house and they're renting rooms out of houses, may not check credit scores. So it really varies. A lot of times they should say pretty openly whether they do or whether they don't in terms of the application process. If you do not have that type of score, sometimes like if you were to take out loans, sometimes you can show that. Sometimes they will take other documentation as proof in place of the credit score. So, explaining the situation, letting them know, obviously I'm an international student, I'm here to study. Is there anything else that I can use, any other documentation that is, can be used in place of a credit score? I would say asking that first would be helpful to start with.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wants to ask some questions? You guys only have this opportunity while Chloe is still here. Probably, okay, regarding of the housing, which one is more popular for international students to look for?
In terms of like on-campus or off-campus housing?
Yes, which one, between on-campus and off-campus? Or what is, if you probably can give us a little insights about like the pros and cons of taking those housings?
Sure. So it really will depend. So I'll start with what is normally expected of like undergraduate students. So sometimes undergraduate students or those pursuing their bachelor's will be required to live on campus for at least a year. So they will normally have housing that is pretty much guaranteed on campus for the first year. So if they have that requirement, then they should have housing for you. So, one of the pros of being on campus is that you are closer to those resources, you are closer to places to study, closer to your classes. So, it may be something that, you just prefer to be kind of close and kind of within that sort of campus community. In terms of students that may be not in their first year of undergrad or maybe in their master's program, they may choose to live off campus. And there is, a little bit more independence, obviously, living off campus, maybe a little quieter. Sometimes on campus it can be a little bit loud with, stuff going on weekends and different events. So it may be just, kind of that feeling of independence. Some students just might prefer it. There may be more of a chance to, live with maybe a roommate that you want to live with, or really choose the number of roommates that you can have. And sometimes it is a little bit cheaper off campus just because you can kind of divide the rent among maybe 2 or 3 roommates. So sometimes people choose that more. It really will depend on the university. So like at University at Albany, there is some limited on-campus housing for graduate students, but they just have to act early. So I would definitely ask that if you're a graduate student, if there are any housing opportunities specifically for graduate students at the university, so you don't, just take that out and don't pursue that option, because sometimes there can be some options available for graduate students. But it just kind of depends. I think if you feel comfortable on campus, if you feel like it's a place where you can concentrate, where you can study, and the dorms or the residence halls feel comfortable to you, it's a great option. If you feel like, again, you just need a little bit more quiet, you want to live with the people you want to live with, then, off campus can sometimes be better. So it really is a preference, and it also depends on the campus that you're in, whether it's small or large, or the amount of housing that they have.
All right, thank you so much, Chloe. Any more questions? Okay, there's one over there.
Hello, good morning. Yeah, how to say? I have a children will be going to Arizona State of University, right? So I have 2 questions. One about the vaccine and immunization, because according to the portal, yeah, the status they required only the MMR. But a friend of mine said that it's a kind of a mandatory to have another immunization and TBC of vaccine. So, but in the Arizona State University, they don't require that one. So we want to know whether it's compulsory to have another vaccine of immunization, or we only follow the portal of the our university. That is the first question. The second question regarding the arrival. Whenever arrival in the airport, how to get the, how to say, kind of services into the university transportation to the from the airport to the university, whether they already have some of a counter or something, or we have to book from Indonesia. That is the question. Thank you.
Great. Okay. Those are two great questions. So in terms of the immunization, that can vary between schools. So every school might have a different policy on that. What I would say is that if you have any confusion on that, look for or search for a health services office or a health services center. Those are the places that usually will give you the most updated information about vaccines that are required. They also may tell you to speak to the admissions office, but a lot of times that documentation is handled by a health services center. It should be pretty clear in your admissions what vaccines your child would need to have. And if you are at all concerned about the type of documentation you have, or you're not sure it's the right documentation, talking to the admissions team or talking to the health services center can be very helpful, just to make sure you have everything in order for that. So again, it can be a little bit different depending on state, depending on the university, in terms of what they require. So if you're at all concerned with the documentation, definitely reach out to admissions or health services. In terms of transportation, again, it's going to be very different. So I can tell you, because I also went to Arizona State University, the airport in Phoenix is pretty close to at least, both campuses. So whether you're at the downtown campus or whether you're at the Tempe campus, the airport is very close. So you can either do a ride share like Uber, or in order to get to campus, there is also a light rail that is available, like a train that goes basically either direction. So it goes towards the Tempe campus and then it goes back towards the downtown campus. So you can often take that, and it goes right by the airport, and it's pretty inexpensive to ride. I believe when I was there, it was about maybe $4 or $5 US, I think, maybe less than that even, for a whole day ticket. So it's very simple in terms of that area to get to those two campuses from the airport. Now, in terms of other universities, you may want to ask if there is any transportation or any like shuttle services that are set up to get students to and from the airport. There may be things like with the University at Albany, there's a couple different options. So you can either fly directly into Albany, which is, sometimes more expensive. So obviously checking to see, can you fly direct into the, town that you're going to? Or is there things like trains or things like shuttle services? Those are things to kind of look into early on. If you have confusion on that, definitely reaching out to the university. As I said, I can't emphasize enough, asking questions of the admissions staff, asking questions of the International Student Services Office can be very helpful, because they will often give you a list of, ways to get to and from the university for international students, what you need to do once you arrive at the airport. They should definitely be giving you, directions on how to do that. And if not, please reach out and ask, because you want to feel comfortable. Obviously, when your child lands, your child wants to feel comfortable. You want to feel comfortable as the parent. So, definitely reach out to the school. But for ASU, it's pretty simple to get to the either campus from the airport.
All good? Okay. One last question. Is that okay? One last question if we have one.
Okay, hello Chloe. My name is Areta, and I'm currently participating in an exchange program to Michigan State University for the upcoming fall semester. So, as I have a keen interest in learning sign language, I also want to ask you about American Sign Language learning resources. Do you have any tips and recommendations on the access to the deaf community itself and the ASL Learning Center in the US in general? Thank you so much in advance.
Sure, that's wonderful that you want to pursue that. I love that. So, what I would say is for those types of classes, most universities, I will say most, I don't know if all of them offer it, but most will offer classes in ASL. The other place to maybe look for is most universities will have offices for students, maybe with, learning differences or hearing differences that can kind of help students with that process. And a lot of times they will use, maybe peer tutors or peer assistants to kind of help those students during their time on campus. So a lot of times those and a lot of times they're called inclusion offices, will work with students and kind of provide some of those resources. And if you wanted to be a peer tutor or a peer assistant, that can be something to maybe talk to them about and see if they have those programs. Just in terms of, other resources that may be on campus other than classes, there may be clubs or organizations that are specific to that population. And if there are not, definitely check within the community, because there may be offices or organizations, nonprofits in the city that you are going to that have those types of maybe volunteer activities or ways you can learn ASL or improve ASL. So I would say check with the university first, and then definitely do some research into the city and community that you'll be living in, because I can guarantee there are definitely opportunities for that. So that's wonderful that you want to pursue that.
All right. Okay, I'm so sorry to cut you there, guys, because we are running out of time. But I would like to say thank you for Chloe, and give her a round of applause. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Also, thank you for staying up late for us, live from New
Oh,
York.
it's such an honor. Oh no, it's such an honor to be here. I'm so happy to be here, and I'm so excited for everyone. Congratulations again.
Thank you, Chloe, and good evening for you.
Yeah,
All right.
thank you.
Okay, guys, before we proceed to the next, I would like to say congratulations again. Enjoy the US, have fun, and thank you so much for your attentions and for coming to the pre-departure orientation session. So I will give it up to Ganara.
Thank you, Kak May. All right, thank you so much, Kak May and Chloe, for our first discussion session. Next, we'll be moving on to our second discussion session, and our moderator for our second session is a Fulbright alum of 2018. Please welcome Kiki Rizky Amalia.
Okay, semangat pagi semuanya. How are you? Okay, let's pump up a little bit. So if I ask you like, how are you? Could you please say it's awesome? Okay, deal? So how are you today? All right, thank you. So I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Kiki Rizky Amalia. I go by first name, so please call me Kiki. And I'm going to be the moderator for this session. And for this session, we're gonna talk about more practical, like what should you prepare and what should you, like how to adjusting your life at the United States. And for today's session, we're gonna have a special speaker. So he is an awardee LPDP, an awardee of LPDP, and he is a current student at the University of Minnesota. So please give applause for Kak Abdul Muin. So should we sit down already? Okay. Oh. All right. Okay, so before we start, maybe, oh,
Cek.
okay, so before we start, I will ask Kak Muin to introduce yourself, so please.
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, I would like to congratulate. Oh ya, oke. Jadi pertama saya mau ucapkan selamat kepada teman-teman yang sudah diterima di beberapa kampus di United States. Mungkin kita pakai mix aja bahasa Inggris
Yeah,
Indonesia
sure.
ya.
Kita campur
karena
sari
banyak-
aja.
ya. Oke. So, terima kasih banyak atas kesempatan yang diberikan kepada saya. Terima kasih banyak juga kepada teman-teman yang sudah hadir di sini, baik online maupun in person. My name is Abdul Muin Banyal. I go by my middle name. I'm currently studying. I'm currently taking my master degree in the field of physics education at the University of Minnesota. This is my first year, and next year, in a few months would be my second year. So I think
So
that's
this is
it.
your summer break.
Yeah.
Okay, and we are so lucky to have him here during his summer break. So, all right, so how is it, like your first year in the US?
I'm gonna say it has been awesome so far. Yeah, everything goes well. So yeah, I enjoy so much.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on. So in this session, we're gonna have maybe like two main discussion. The first one about the preparation before you go to the US, and then the second session, maybe we talk about like adjusting life in the US. All right, so continuing with the discussion in the first session, we talk about the housing. I know, because like moving to somewhere like 1,000 miles from Indonesia, so you might be curious, like, or you may be like, how is it, like, how do I can find housing, right?
Yeah.
So maybe you can tell us a little bit about like tips and trick, or how to choose the housing in the US.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. So there are several things that you need to consider before coming to the USA. First of all, you need to find housing. Obviously, the United States, there are two types of housing. The first one would be fully furnished. Oke, balik. Sorry. Oke. Jadi di USA ada dua tipe housing. Pertama yang fully furnished, yang sudah dilengkap, yang isinya itu sudah dilengkapi oleh landlordnya ya. Biasanya ada tempat tidur, terus kulkas, sofa, wifi dan lain sebagainya. Dan ini biasanya relatif expensive. Kemudian ada juga yang not fully furnished dan ini cheap, biasanya kosong. Nah mungkin diisi oleh kayak kulkas, terus kayak laundry kan, mesin cuci, kayak gitu-gitu. Terus pertanyaannya how to find housing. Nah di USA kayak ada di setiap state di United States ada Permias. Permias itu adalah organisasi atau persatuan mahasiswa Indonesia di Amerika Serikat. Nah teman-teman bisa kunjungi Instagram mereka, bisa tulis aja Permias University of bla bla bla. Nanti kalian bisa hubungi adminnya, tanya-tanya soal housing di Amerika Serikat. Terus teman-teman juga bisa cari housing di website kampus. Nah biasanya kampus itu berafiliasi dengan beberapa housing atau apartemen of kampus di Amerika Serikat. Dan teman-teman bisa hubungi mereka, dan kalau misalnya teman-teman ingin pastikan tempat tinggalnya, bisa minta mereka untuk kayak Zoom atau video call untuk room tour, untuk pastikan apakah housing tersebut sesuai dengan preference teman-teman atau tidak. Selanjutnya teman-teman bisa cari housing di Facebook. Facebook itu banyak bertebaran untuk housing di mana-mana. Jadi kalian bisa tulis aja di Facebook Housing University of Alabama atau University of Minnesota dan lain-lain. Kalian bisa tulis aja seperti itu, nanti keluar semua. Nah, tapi yang penting untuk dipertimbangkan kalau cari housing di Facebook, teman-teman harus perhatikan soal scam, karena banyak sekali scam di Facebook tuh. Jadi harus dihindari tuh yang soal di kalau scam, kalau di Facebook, diperhatikan soal scamnya. Artinya ketika teman-teman cari, biasanya itu di fotonya itu bagus-bagus kan, tapi ternyata aslinya tidak, atau mungkin saja tidak ada housingnya sama sekali. Nah hanya fotonya aja kan. Jadi hati-hati soal itu. Jadi untuk pastikan itu teman-teman minta video call atau zoom untuk room tour gitu. Nah, mungkin juga kayak hal-hal yang harus dipertimbangkan saat cari housing ya, seperti yang dikatakan oleh Chloe di previous session, kalian harus lihat jarak antara housing dengan tempat kuliah kampus kalian. Karena kalau tidak kan di sana kayak severe weather ya, kayak misalnya winter, musim salju, teman-teman bisa kena misalnya mimisan dan lain sebagainya karena saking dinginnya kan. Terus kayak,
especially yang mungkin tujuannya Midwest ya. Mungkin di sini ada yang tujuannya ke Midwest, Chicago. Ada one over there. All of them. Awesome. Okay, you gonna have like snow-nya tuh, saljunya tuh bener-bener numpuk banget gitu. And maybe it's gonna be like negative 23 degree. So.
Iya, benar. Kayak kita di Minnesota itu saljunya sampai 7 cm di atas kaki. Iya.
Wow.
Terus dinginnya itu sampai minus 37 derajat Celcius.
Wow.
Jadi kayak kalau jadi harus dipertimbangkan tuh, kalau jauh dari kampus minimal dekat dengan kayak bus stop gitu kan, atau halte gitu. Itu aja sih.
Oke. So itu ya. Jadi untuk housingnya berarti consider pricing-nya. Maksudnya kayak berapa yang mau mereka spend untuk renting, terus also jarak, distance sama bus stop atau campusnya gitu ya Mas ya. Oke. And mungkin berarti yang pertama kalau Mas sendiri, what about you? Like in your experience, how did you find your housing?
Kenapa tadi saya katakan di awal hati-hati dengan scam? Karena saya pernah alami di mana saya lihat kayak fotonya bagus sekali kan, bagus banget di Facebook. Terus saya tertarik tuh. Pas saya sudah tiba di tempatnya ternyata horor tempatnya gitu.
Jadi waktu pas nyampe horor gitu tempatnya.
Horor tempatnya. Jadi untung saya sama teman kan. Jadi teman saya ya dia kasih tempatnya untuk saya numpang beberapa hari gitu.
Terus jadi nggak jadi
di situ ya.
Oke.
Jadi ya harus hati-hati sih kalau soal Facebook. Tapi kayak di website kampus relatif aman sih. Sama Permias juga kan kayak.
Mungkin untuk teman-teman yang dari Indonesia mungkin Permias jadi one of the main option ya untuk find the housing ya gitu. Oke, anything else about housing mungkin yang they need to consider about?
I think that's it. Yeah.
Okay. Alright, so mungkin nanti questionnya di akhir ya, 15 minutes di akhir. Mungkin kita moving dulu nih, kalau misalnya setelah kita maksudnya udah menyelamatkan housingnya gitu kan. Mungkin yang another considerationnya about tiket nih gitu kan. Maksudnya milih flight yang seperti apa sih untuk ke US-nya gitu. Mungkin bisa cerita sedikit bagaimana milih flight yang nyaman untuk ke US, karena kan perjalanannya jauh ya. I would say it's almost 24 hours. Depend. So mungkin bisa cerita sedikit tentang bagaimana dulu milih flight-nya.
Ya kalau saya kan award LPDP dan kayaknya untuk Fulbright kayaknya mungkin sama ya. Kalau LPDP biasanya tuh dipesan langsung tiketnya oleh pihak sponsorship ya. Jadi tapi kita milih pesawat. Jadi kemarin saya pilih KLM karena menurut teman-teman saya KLM juga lumayan bagus gitu. Terus ada yang sarankan kayak American Airlines gitu kan. Nah tapi saya milih KLM kemarin. Dan saran saya kalau misalnya teman-teman milih pesawat, perhatikan kayak jam transitnya di negara tertentu gitu. Pastikan jam transitnya itu tidak lebih dari, maksudnya tidak kurang dari 3 jam. Istilahnya more than 3 hours gitu. Karena kalau enggak kan kita turun pesawat tuh, biasanya kita harus pindah pesawat kan. Dan jarak antara terminal yang satu dengan terminal yang lain itu cukup jauh. Jadi untuk menghindari hal-hal kayak misalnya terlambat pesawat dan lain sebagainya, minimal jam transitnya itu di atas 3 jam. Terus kan kita turun dari pesawat pada saat transit itu kan dicek juga itu. Nah itu biasanya butuh waktu lama. Jadi pastikan jam transitnya tuh di atas 3 jam gitu. Terus things to consider, misalnya teman-teman bisa tanya di mbak-mbak dan mas-mas pada saat check in kan, tanya apakah baggage-nya itu langsung diterima di tempat tujuan atau ini gitu. Pada saat transit harus check in ulang.
Iya, karena
check in ulang lagi.
di tempat transit itu memang sometimes ada yang memang luggage-nya itu bisa, bagasinya itu bisa dikirim langsung ke final destination ya.
Iya.
Sama ada yang ternyata in the middle tuh harus diambil dulu gitu. Jadi diambil dulu, terus abis itu kita masukin lagi gitu ya.
Benar.
Oke, so make sure. Jadi jangan sampai ceritanya teman-teman udah nyampe US nih, luggage-nya masih ketinggalan di suatu tempat gitu ya.
Iya.
Nanti malah sibuk ngurusin luggage gitu.
Iya.
Terus apalagi Mas yang tentang tiketing? Selain berarti tadi pilih flight yang jam transitnya make sense gitu ya. Ada lagi yang tentang tiketing?
Mungkin itu dulu.
Itu dulu, oke. Nanti mungkin ada banyak question dari teman-teman ya di akhir ya. Sama berarti flightnya, terus ini yang kayaknya paling banyak ditanyain sama teman-teman. Packingnya gimana sih? Kayak barang-barang apa aja yang kita boleh bawa, kita nggak boleh bawa? Mungkin bisa diceritain Mas?
Oke, jadi kayak penerbangan internasional rata-rata itu biasanya baggage-nya itu 2 ya. Masing-masing baggage itu kayak misalnya 2-3 kg, terus ditambah 7 kg untuk bagasi kabin kan. Nah, tapi ada beberapa kasus kayak misalnya KLM, saya naik pesawat KLM kemarin yang milik Belanda tuh, itu cuman diizinkan 1 bagasi gitu. Jadi cuman 2-3 kg terus ditambah 7 kilo ini bagasi kabin. Jadi karena saya bawa 2 koper, mereka suruh saya untuk masukkan boxnya ke dalam ini. Karena saya bawa 1 koper sama 1 box, jadi boxnya itu dimasukkan ke dalam koper. Karena kalau tidak biasanya 1 box itu bayar $100 dan saya nggak mau keluarkan $100 untuk ini kan. Makanya saya packing aja tuh boxnya ke dalam kopernya. Jadi alhamdulillah pada saat itu muat. Jadi ya.
Okay.
Terus Oke, terus kayak packing nih, kayak teman-teman kalau bisa bawa 2 minggu pakaian hanya untuk 2 minggu gitu. Karena kan di sana pakaian ya relatif murah lah gitu. Dan pakaian-pakaian di sana kan kayak misalnya jaket didesain khusus untuk kayak dingin gitu kan. Nah, kayak misalnya jaket-jaket di Indonesia ya mungkin bukan soal kualitasnya tapi fungsinya kan. Jadi kalau di sana mungkin jaket Indonesia nggak mempan terhadap dingin kayaknya ya.
Depend ya, karena jaketnya juga nanti berbagai macam kan ya, seingatku ya. Jadi ada memang jaket yang untuk wine, aku lupa, wind. Jadi untuk yang buat angin doang, ada yang buat salju juga gitu kan. It's different ya. Jadi mendingan, jadi nggak usah bawa jaket dari sini nih Mas.
Iya, mungkin kalau mau dibawa ya paling 1 lah gitu. Nggak usah ini penuhi koper kalian dengan baju-baju gitu kan, atau ya bisa dibeli di sana karena relatif murah kok di sana. Terus nanti kita bahas di mana sih tempat yang paling murah untuk cari ini kan barang-barang ini kan.
Oke, jadi stay tune ya karena nanti bakal dibahas tentang di mana sih beli-beli baju di sana gitu ya. Oke, terus apa lagi Mas? Berarti walaupun tinggal di sana akan 2 tahun atau 4 tahun, jadi jangan bawa baju untuk 2 tahun ya. Bajunya bawa untuk 2 minggu aja. Oke, terus selain baju, mungkin baju menuhin 1 koper, selain itu apa lagi? Ini di sini ada tulisan souvenirs, itu gimana tuh maksudnya Mas?
Oke, jadi kayak misalnya teman-teman sejauh ini kan kalian berkomunikasi dengan orang-orang kampus melalui email kan, kayak misalnya profesor atau teman-teman siapa kayak gitu, ya bawalah oleh-oleh khas Indonesia gitu buat mereka. Ini tidak mandatory, but ya dari
rendang boleh gitu. Mas, rendang. Bawa rendang boleh.
Rendang ya. Oke, jadi ya small gift dari Indonesia buat profesor atau teman-teman dekat, mungkin teman-teman di sana gitu. Kayak gitulah. Oke,
ada tipsnya gitu, bawanya apa gitu, udah ada ini?
Saya bawa sarung sama bawa jaket.
Oh, sarung sama jaket?
Bawa sarung sama batik.
Batik.
Karena saya di US kemarin kan sering pakai sarung tuh. Nah teman-teman saya tuh kayak, enak ya pakai sarung pada saat musim panas. Ya udah mereka pesan tuh.
Di sana nggak ada sarung?
Mereka nggak tahu sarung apa namanya. Apa mereka sebutnya tuh, aku udah lupa, tapi bukan sarung sebutannya mereka tuh.
Oke.
Dia Indonesian man. Dia tulis Indonesian man. Dia harus muncul sarung tuh.
Indonesian man pants.
Iya.
Oke, terus selanjutnya itu kan ada tulisan instant noodle ya Mas ya. Itu maksudnya gimana tuh?
Oh ya, tadi kan do's dan don'ts kan. Jadi hal-hal yang perlu dibawa dan hal-hal yang tidak perlu dibawa. Nah, instant noodle yang rasa ayam itu nggak boleh dibawa di pesawat. Ya, biasanya ditahan tuh. Terus kayak cigarette atau rokok biasanya itu nggak boleh lebih dari nggak boleh satu slove atau satu box tuh. Paling ya 2-3 bungkus boleh lah gitu. Tapi terus liquid juga. Kayak yang liquid untuk bagasi kabin itu kurang dari 100 ml. Itu diizinkan kurang dari 100 ml, tapi kalau yang di bagasi itu biasanya kurang dari 200 ml. Nah, jangan bawa yang lebih dari 200 atau 100 ml karena biasanya dibuang di bandara, sayang kan uangnya.
Oh ya benar, jadi liquid sih ya, mungkin banyak di sini yang belum tahu gitu ya. Jadi kalau misalkan untuk flight ke US itu, kalau misalnya ada liquid boleh dibawa di kabin, tapi under 100 ml.
Benar.
Dan itu pun harus di ziplock ya. Mungkin teman-teman udah pada tahu. Jadi pastikan di ziplock. Kalau enggak bener-bener harus ditinggal gitu atau dikeluarin isinya. Yang ngapain ya kita bawa? Kalau bawa sabun gitu, bawa botol sabunnya doang, kenang-kenangan dari Indonesia. Oke, terus tadi rokok ya nggak boleh ya?
Iya.
Oke. Rokoknya nggak boleh semua atau gimana tuh?
Enggak, bagi teman-teman yang merokok paling yang 2-3 bungkus di bawah. Biasanya kalau lebih dari itu mungkin ditahan nggak ditahan di bandara sini, tapi di US biasanya ditahan tuh.
Oke, soalnya mungkin karena ini ya, di cigarette di sana tuh mahal. Jadi mungkin orang-orang Indonesia yang biasa ngerokok, jadi kayak kalau di sana kan mahal ya gitu. Jadi bawanya banyak gitu. Berarti nggak boleh bawa banyak-banyak. Takut dikira mau jualan gitu ya, bukan mau sekolah. Oke, yang lastly mungkin tentang uang. Maksudnya gimana nih Mas? Cashnya $500 sampai 1.000.
Oke, jadi untuk pertama kali kita berangkat ke United States, kita memang perlu uang cash gitu. Mungkin dalam perjalanan kita habiskan, kalau teman-teman mode hemat ya, mungkin kurang dari $50 gitu untuk habiskan biaya kayak misalnya makan minum kan. Tapi kan di pesawat kan ada makanan sama minuman kan. Jadi mungkin pada saat transit kita mungkin kayak ngemil-ngemil gitu, kita bisa beli di tempat-tempat terdekat di situ. Mungkin ya under $50 gitu. Tapi kayak kenapa saya tulis di situ 500 sampai $1.000 karena pada saat kita tiba di USA, kita nggak punya bank, kita nggak punya kartu, jadi apa-apa semuanya harus di cash, maksudnya dibayar cash gitu. Jadi makanya kayak misalnya
they receive cash.
Benar. Kayak misalnya housing atau urus bank itu biasanya kita bayar cash gitu. Kalau belum punya bank ataupun ya kalau belum punya ini kan ATM kan gitu. Gitu.
Sama ini ya, mungkin some of them juga advice untuk bawa credit card ya kalau misalnya belum ada bank di Amerika.
Benar. Saya kemarin pakai, ini bukan ya.
Bukan promosi.
Saya kemarin pakai Genius sih, saya pakai Genius.
Oh, pakai Genius.
Terus kalau teman-teman kayak misalnya yang mau berangkat itu kayak cashnya tuh ditukar ya, kayak misalnya $1 itu 10 gitu. Terus kayak $5 ada 2 atau $10 ada 1.
Jadi jangan bawa $1.000 dan $1.000-nya itu dalam seratusan semua gitu ya. Oke. Alrighty. Okay. So berarti kita itu kurang lebih yang di prepare sebelum berangkat ke US ya Mas ya. Nah terus nanti kita kan flight kemudian kita nyampe lah ya di sana ya. Nah ketika begitu kita sampai di sana apa sih yang harus di pay attention to people mungkin tentang apa nih? Oh, landing at the airport. Gimana nih ceritanya, Mas?
Oke, jadi tadi sudah dibahas sedikit oleh Chloe ya di previous session tentang siapa yang nanya tadi soal penjemputan apa tuh?
Penjemputan
ya. Jadi untuk ke apartemen itu biasanya saya kemarin beruntung karena saya kontak teman di Minnesota dan dia jemput saya. Dan kita pakai train atau light rail, biasanya di sana light rail. Nah, kalau misalnya teman-teman di kampus-kampus tertentu itu biasanya ada jemputan gitu, kayak di Arizona State University, itu ada penjemputan dari pihak kampus langsung yang jemput kita gitu. Asalkan kita komunikasi dengan pihak admission atau AS kalau nggak salah ya. Karena teman saya kemarin dia ke sana langsung dijemput oleh pihak kampus. Jadi memang ada beberapa kampus yang memang menawarkan transportasi kan, untuk menjemput mahasiswa internasional. Terus kalau teman-teman nggak punya link atau apa, kalian bisa naik bus. Saya nggak saran Uber atau Lyft karena memang itu butuh kayak nomor US untuk daftar. Jadi mungkin itu ya listnya itu di bawah lah gitu. Maksudnya yang paling utama itu yang light rail sama bus ya. Terus kayak kampus, hubungi kampus kalau bisa mereka mungkin provide transportation for you gitu. Nah, atau yang paling aman itu ya hubungi teman-teman yang di sana lah, karena permias kan kayaknya ada di mana-mana kayaknya. Jadi hubungi teman-teman untuk jemput gitu, itu lebih aman sih menurutku.
Oke, jadi resource yang paling important di sana tuh kayaknya teman-teman permias ya, atau teman-teman sesama Indonesia. Jadi mungkin bisa diminta pick up gitu ya Mas ya. Orang-orang permiasnya kan baik-baik ya Mas ya. Mungkin nanti kalau yang mau ke University of Minnesota bisa menghubungi Mas Muin gitu ya. Kayaknya ada itu ya yang mau ke Minnesota ya. Oke, berarti minta di pick up atau hubungi campus sama yang terakhir, opsi terakhir tapi agak susah ya mungkin karena tadi Uber sama Lyft. Jadi di sana nggak ada Gojek, nggak ada Grab ya. Di sana adanya Uber sama Lyft, tapi you need to register using US number ya. So because we don't have yet, jadi mungkin itu opsi yang agak tidak mungkin ya. Oke. Alright.
Mungkin kalau misalnya di pick up sama teman kan, sama-sama naik Uber, tapi kalian yang bayar gitu.
Oh, ya tapi intinya tetap di pick up sama teman gitu ya. Oke. Minta pesenin. Alright, terus begitu kita sampai di US, apa tuh Mas yang report yourself tuh maksudnya gimana tuh?
Oke, jadi syarat tiba di US itu kita harus lapor diri di I-94. Mungkin teman-teman yang ngurus visa mungkin familiar dengan ini. Jadi kalian bisa fill out form ya secara online. Nah, dan juga kalian harus lapor diri di KBRI secara online juga. Tujuannya apa? Supaya ketika kita ada masalah, pihak KBRI bisa langsung mendatangi kita di alamat yang kita isi di form online tersebut. Itu sih yang harus ini.
Oke, jadi dua itu ya, berarti teman-teman don't forget to report yourself online for I-94 and ke KBRI gitu ya. Alright, terus what about the admission office?
Okay, so it's really imperative to verify your transcript and certificate after you arrive at campus or
So the first time ke kampus ya?
Ya, ketika sampai di apartemen sudah aman nih, sudah pastikan kalian sudah sampai di apartemen, tenang, sudah lapor semua, terus pergi ke kampus. Besoknya mungkin bisa pergi ke kampus, terus ke admission office, terus verifikasi transkrip sama ijazahnya. Karena setiap university pasti ada itu, verifikasi transkrip sama sertifikat, ijazah gitu. Kemudian teman-teman kalau tiba jangan lupa daftar kelasnya kan, karena nggak mungkin kalian mau kuliah kalau nggak daftar kelas gitu. Nah, biasanya daftar kelas itu di Canvas di sana ya. Terus perhatikan juga jadwal kuliah teman-teman di Canvas. Di sana US rata-rata kayaknya semua kampus deh pakai Canvas gitu. Nah, di situ kita bisa baca juga silabus untuk mata kuliah yang besok kita akan pelajari dan mungkin kita bisa prepare untuk saat diskusi minimal kita ngomong 1-2 kali lah gitu.
Mungkin bisa dijelaskan sedikit Mas. Mungkin di sini maybe people are not familiar about Canvas. Jadi what is Canvas? Mungkin bisa diceritain a little bit?
Canvas itu kayak semacam bukan ya web platform gitu, di mana semua akademik kita itu terupload di situ. Jadi kita bisa lihat nilai, kita bisa lihat mata kuliah, jadwal, silabus dan lain semua. Dan lain sebagainya itu di Canvas gitu.
Including assignments ya.
Benar.
Assignments dan sometimes submitnya
juga di Canvas gitu.
Submitnya juga di Canvas gitu. Jadi and maybe it's different ya untuk beda universities. Maybe not all the universities use Canvas maybe.
Iya, tapi rata-rata kampus di US. Soalnya beberapa temanku yang kuliah di state lain juga mereka rata-rata pakai Canvas gitu.
Ya aku juga dulu pakai Canvas sih. Oke, terus itu ya admission office ya. Jadi don't forget to verify your certificate and transcript transcript and don't forget to enroll your class. And moving on ke ini
ya,
nih.
Moving on terus kita nih.
Apa nih tulisannya SIM card?
SIM card.
Gimana nih? Apa yang mau diceritain tentang SIM card nih?
Oke, SIM card ini ada beberapa ini ya, SIM card yang bisa kita pakai. Misalnya saya kemarin pakai T-Mobile. Nah, T-Mobile itu kayak biasanya kalau kita pakai sendiri itu bayarannya itu sekitar 50 sampai $60 untuk T-Mobile. Terus kalau kita family plan, kayak misalnya ada beberapa teman-teman Indonesia yang memang mau pakai T-Mobile sama-sama, itu kita bisa bayarnya sekitar ya $27 gitu. Kalau kita family plan ya, tapi kalau pakai sendiri mahal gitu. Terus ada AT&T, ada Verizon, saya belum pakai ini, tapi saya rencana mau pakai Telo karena Telo ini hanya $15 untuk plannya setiap bulan kan. Nah, kenapa saya pakai Telo? Karena menurutku sih kita di US nggak butuh banyak-banyak paket data sih, soalnya di sana kayak di semua tempat itu ada wifi kan.
Everywhere ya.
Iya, wifi everywhere. Jadi kita butuh paket itu hanya ya sedikit lah gitu. Jadi keuntungannya T-Mobile itu kayak internetnya itu unlimited. Ini kayak promo ya.
Baru mau bilang, ini kayak apa namanya salesnya T-Mobile gitu ya.
Oke, jadi kayak internetnya unlimited, terus teleponnya juga unlimited. Nah, kekurangannya kayak Telo ini kayak saya mau pakai ini, internetnya nggak unlimited dan juga kayak teleponnya juga nggak unlimited, tapi bayarnya murah.
Oh gitu, I see. And also kan kalau nggak salah kan di US itu ada apa sih, how do you say, plan untuk internet sekalian sama HP-nya ya nggak sih?
Iya.
Iya. Ya itu pernah dengar?
Saya belum.
Oh belum pernah. Oke, mungkin aku bisa cerita dikit kali ya.
Oh boleh.
Jadi kayak itu ada juga tuh. Jadi sekalian nyicil HP, sekalian jadi bayar plan tiap bulannya itu at the end of the contract dapat handphonenya juga gitu. Jadi mungkin bisa consider itu gitu. Begitu datang langsung nyicil HP sekalian bayar monthly plan-nya gitu.
Oke.
Gitu. Mungkin bisa dicoba juga Mas.
Iya.
Nah.
Interesting.
Jadi tadi begitu nyampe itu kita yang pasti harus punya US number ya. It's so important karena untuk registrasi apapun kita akan butuh US number, right?
Benar.
Terus tadi kita butuh cash kalau misalnya belum punya bank. Nah, that's why kita harus buka bank account ya.
Oke.
Nah, terus mungkin bisa diceritain Mas kayak bank apa yang harus dipilih.
Oke, jadi ada banyak sekali bank di US yang mungkin jadi pertimbangan teman-teman untuk di-apply itu kayak misalnya Bank of America, terus Wells Fargo, dan Chase ya. Ini bank-bank yang memang berafiliasi dengan kampus, jadi kenapa kita harus milih bank yang berafiliasi dengan kampus? Karena memang pertama itu aksesnya lebih mudah gitu, karena Bank of America atau Wells Fargo atau Chase dan beberapa bank lainnya yang berafiliasi dengan kampus itu everywhere gitu, jadi di dekat kampus ada, di mana-mana ada gitu. Jadi kita bisa kalau mau ambil uang cash kita mudah gitu. Tapi kayak bank-bank yang lain itu biasanya susah nyarinya gitu kan. Nah, terus kayak misalnya kayak kita travel atau mau libur ke state lain itu bisa mempermudah kita juga kan. Kayak di state lain itu kita nggak terlalu ribet untuk nyari bank karena memang banknya mudah dicari gitu.
Jadi make sure untuk cari bank yang
berafiliat dengan kampus.
Oh, affiliate dengan kampus, karena berarti ATM-nya ada di situ, dekat situ ya, dekat kampus. And mungkin yang dia well known di seluruh states gitu, karena mungkin ada bank-bank yang lokal dan ketika teman-teman ke tempat lain agak susah kalau misalnya ada something gitu ya. Oke. Terus apa nih? Oh ini yang tadi diceritain ya, thrift store ini nih. Jadi ini tips and triknya buat teman-teman yang mau belanja murah.
Iya benar.
Gimana Mas ceritanya Mas?
Jadi Goodwill itu yang paling terkenal ya untuk belanja barang-barang second hand yang murah-murah. Kayaknya menurutku second hand di sana itu ya worth it sih. Kayak masih mantap lah gitu. Jadi kayaknya mahasiswa Indonesia rata-rata, mungkin saya sih, bukan rata-rata tapi kayaknya saya suka yang murah-murah kan dan lumayan berkualitas. Nah Goodwill itu mungkin salah satu option teman-teman untuk ini, to consider gitu. Nah, kalian bisa belanja kayak sepatu, terus winter coat dan lain sebagainya kan. Pokoknya hal-hal berbau pakaian lah itu kalian bisa belanja di situ dan sepatu. Thrift store juga salah satu toko yang memang paling murah tuh. Saya pernah belanja di situ dan memang paling murah.
Maybe not only ini ya clothes ya, but also things like barang-barang rumah juga kayaknya ada ya.
Iya benar. Dan itu biasanya murah-murah di situ tuh. Kalau kita mau belanja, belanja di Goodwill atau di thrift store. Dan itu kayaknya di setiap state ada tuh. Ini chestnya bukannya, chestnya itu bank. Saya salah
Oh
ini.
iya itu masih ke Kopas ya Mas ya, ke bawah ya.
Kopas.
Iya benar-benar. Emang thrift store itu salah satu ini ya source yang
Iya,
sangat membantu banget ya.
benar.
Apalagi mungkin buat teman-teman yang
Mau dihemat gitu.
iya dan also only go to the US only for masters, which
Benar.
is cuma 2 tahun gitu kan.
Oh,
Jadi
iya.
ya kan kalau
Iya, iya.
misalnya beli meja, lampu dan kawan-kawannya baru semua, sayang juga gitu ya.
Iya. Kalau
Sama
kalau undergrad mungkin make sense kan?
Oh iya,
Ya,
masih
karena
4
masih lama
tahun.
kan, iya. 4 tahun. Jadi mungkin ya beli yang tahan lama gitu. Ini tahan lama juga sebenarnya.
Oh ya bukan berarti yang dari thrift store nggak tahan lama ya.
Iya, benar-benar. Oke.
Iya benar. Sama mungkin ini mungkin ya barang-barang yang dibeli dari orang-orang kan suka banyak yang karena
Iya.
orang masters cuma 2 tahun nih dia jualan segala macam ya nggak sih di
Oh, iya,
Facebook.
benar. Nah, soal housing juga tadi saya lupa. Dan kayak misalnya di apartemennya itu kan biasanya kosong kan. Nah, kita bisa cari ini tuh barang-barang yang dibuang oleh orang-orang yang mau pindah gitu. Jadi kan di US itu kayak misalnya di fall semester itu biasanya orang-orang pada pulang negaranya kan karena selesai wisuda kan. Nah, mereka buang sofa, buang celana, nggak mungkin celana juga ya. Buang meja, kursi dan lain sebagainya kan. Nah, kita bisa pick up tuh hal-hal yang memang kita butuhkan. Nah, dibuang di jalan-jalan dan itu gratis, kita bisa ambil semau kita gitu. Nah, terus kayak teman-teman yang mau pulang itu biasanya mereka jual barang-barang mereka dengan harga yang murah dan mungkin kita bisa beli dari teman-teman tersebut ya.
Dan di mana itu mungkin teman-teman bertanya terus di mana gitu kan di Facebook ya.
Iya, di Facebook.
Jadi open Facebook.
Iya.
Banyak tuh ya yang
Iya,
jualan-jualan macem-macem.
Iya.
I remember kayaknya aku beli kayak piring, gelas, segala macem gitu-gitu juga kayaknya di situ deh. Iya, gitu-gitu.
Oke, iya. Dan juga kayak teman-teman mau beli barang-barang elektronik yang second hand, kayak misalnya iPhone atau lain sebagainya, itu saya nggak tulis sini, tapi nama websitenya itu Black Market. Bukan.
Wah ngajarin.
Bukan ini ya, pasar gelap.
Namanya
gelap,
doang.
Namanya doang, ya gitu, Black Market.
Oke. Ya jadi
Dan
di
itu
situ
murah barang-barangnya itu untuk elektronik sih.
bisa. Pernah pengalaman Mas beli apa Mas?
Ya, saya beli.
Oh, nggak boleh di-reveal, nggak boleh
Iya, iya,
di-reveal. Oke, terus itu berarti tentang yang pembelian barang-barang gitu ya?
Iya.
Apalagi untuk yang housingnya tadi belinya yang kosongan, yang nggak
Benar.
fully furnished gitu ya. Jadi bisa beli di thrift store gitu. Jadi dan barang-barangnya pun masih bagus-bagus ya. Nah, terus yang terakhir terkait insurance itu gimana Mas maksudnya?
Oke, insurance itu kayak ya ini saran aja sih kayak teman-teman sakit gigi atau mata memang pastikan teman-teman harus berobat terlebih dahulu di Indonesia karena di sana asuransinya itu mahal sekali gitu. Jadi kayak misalnya kita beasiswa, biasanya ada penyakit tertentu yang tidak bisa di cover full oleh beasiswa gitu. Kayak misalnya cabut gigi atau mata gitu. Cabut gigi itu biasanya
Bukan cabut mata ya, cabut gigi atau periksa mata.
Oke, cabut gigi atau periksa mata. Oke, jadi kayak kalau cabut gigi itu biasanya 80-20. 80-nya itu ditanggung oleh pihak beasiswa, 20-nya itu ditanggung oleh kita gitu. Tapi kalau 20 dari $1.000 kan gila juga kan, kayak kita harus
Tapi insurance tuh memang wajib ya di US tuh ya?
Iya wajib. Tapi kalau beasiswa kan di cover oleh beasiswa kan, jadi nggak usah khawatir. Tapi kayak misalnya penyakit kayak cabut gigi atau periksa mata, bukan cabut mata lagi ya, itu memang usahakan untuk diobati terlebih dahulu di Indonesia gitu, supaya jangan buang-buang uang lah gitu. Karena mahal asuransi di US.
Iya, aku juga remember kayaknya waktu pas aku mau ke US tuh kayak jangan lupa bawa kacamata yang banyak ya
benar.
katanya ya di sana soalnya mahal gitu ya.
Ya, saya kemarin cuman ultrasound exam atau USG itu bayar hampir $300 tuh, hanya ultrasound aja, nggak dikasih obat. Saya kan bengkak di sini kemarin karena cuaca kan, jadi karena nggak ada pengaruhnya mungkin ya. Cuaca soal bengkak.
Cuaca sama
ada kali ya? Ada. Secara kesehatan mungkin ada, tapi kemarin pas saya cek, cuman USG ceknya itu bayarnya itu sekitar $300. Saya bayar $280 gitu. Hanya untuk cek aja, nggak dikasih obat, nggak dikasih apa-apa. Cuman
Ya,
dicek
itulah mahal
doang,
ya.
bayar
Padahal itu
200.
udah insurance, maksudnya
Iya.
pakai insurance.
Iya, insurance dan saya bayar 20% kan.
Ah,
Itu
I see. Oke,
1.400 gitu.
Heeh,
1.400 jadi asuransinya cover 80, aku bayar 20. Tapi 260.
Oke, cuman berarti tetap perlu cek kali ya, cek apa aja sih yang di cover oleh insurance-nya
Oh,
teman-teman
benar.
gitu ya.
Jadi
Siapa?
kayak teman-teman sebelum maksudnya pada saat kalian ke rumah sakit, tanya dulu apakah pada saat cek apa gitu, tanya dulu ini di cover full oleh beasiswa atau di cover setengahnya gitu. Jadi pastikan kalau di cover setengah ya mungkin kalau memang nggak ada option lain lagi ya udah bayar aja gitu. Tapi kalau masih bisa ini ya cari alternatif yang lain lah gitu.
Iya, sama kalau nggak salah ada juga yang di cover oleh insurance tuh apa vaksin.
Oke,
Ya kan
vaksinnya
kayak
benar.
flu vaksin gitu-gitu dimanfaatkan ya teman-teman
Iya.
ya. Jadi di sana apa sih kayak flu vaksin itu 1 tahun sekali ya kalau nggak salah ya.
Benar.
Ya,
Iya.
don't forget untuk memanfaatkan lah ya apa yang
Benar.
di cover oleh insurance-nya gitu. Oke, udah habis nih Mas bahasannya.
Oke.
Kita next lagi ke Oh, ini nih yang paling ditunggu-tunggu sama teman-teman yang mau berangkat biasanya. It's about culture shock. Oke, ini yang pertama restroom. Kenapa nih? Toilet kayaknya emang number one culture shock ya. When we talk about comparison between Indonesia and America and the United States.
Yeah,
Gimana ini restroomnya
definitely.
bikin kaget gimana nih Mas?
Kan kita orang kampung kan, jadi udah udah biasa kayak WC-nya tuh WC jongkok gitu kan.
Oh, WC jongkok.
Nah, di sana
oke.
kan WC-nya WC duduk kan, terus kayak nggak ada air kan, nggak ada air
Iya.
di WC. Di sana manggilnya restroom juga ya.
Iya.
Di sini kayak ada berapa di sini restroom. Di US itu nggak ada toilet, adanya juga ada toilet tapi dipanggilnya tuh restroom gitu. Oke, jadi di restroom di US itu nggak ada air dan kalau saya kemarin itu ngakalinya tuh kayak pergi ke kampus atau kemana-mana itu bawa 2 botol gitu, satu untuk buang air besar, satu untuk ini minum gitu. Jadi kalau misalnya teman-teman ke WC kan mereka pakai tisu kan, nah usahakan tisunya itu di flash ke toilet ya. Ini kayaknya semua udah tahu kayak.
Oh ya, jadi tisunya jangan lupa di flush ke toilet.
Ya.
Jadi dimasukin ke toiletnya, kemudian di flush.
Iya, jangan disimpan di dalam tas nanti bau-bau menyamankan hidung kan bahaya juga.
Oh, iya. Kalau aku ada cerita menarik justru malah reculture shock, kebalikannya. Jadi aku kan di US kebiasa untuk nge-flush tisu di toilet kan. So when I came back to Indonesia, aku nge-flush tisunya ke toilet dan kan tisunya beda gitu, nggak langsung hilang. Jadi kayak mampet.
Kaget nggak tuh?
Iya, itu jadi aku malah culture shock pas balik gitu.
Iya.
Oke, terus itu ya berarti yang tentang toilet ya. Jadi teman-teman jangan kaget di sana tidak ada apa sih istilahnya itu bidet. Oh iya benar nggak ada bidet gitu ya. Jadi nggak ada buat air buat ininya gitu ya. Terus terkait appointment itu maksudnya gimana tuh Mas? Appointment kemana nih?
Oke, jadi ini mungkin bagian dari culture shock juga menurutku karena di US kalau kita ke instansi-instansi tertentu memang harus pakai appointment gitu. Kayak kita ke bank, kita nggak bisa langsung saja ke bank tanpa ada appointment, kayak misalnya lewat telepon atau lain sebagainya kan. Nah, atau mungkin ketemu sama dosen di office hour, memang kita harus buat janji terlebih dahulu. Kita nggak bisa langsung ke kampus terus ada dosennya terus minta ketemu, nggak bisa. Kita harus buat appointment terlebih dahulu. Terus kayak misalnya ke instansi-instansi lain memang butuh appointment ya, kayak tadi dibilang Mbak Chloe juga di awal tadi. Jadi semuanya itu serba appointment gitu. Buat janji.
Terus kalau profesor itu maksudnya terkait guru ya, terkait profesor ya, gimana tuh?
Oke, jadi profesor kayaknya saya lihat di slide pertama soal profesor, mereka itu biasanya kayak di US itu nggak ada senioritas gitu, semua orang itu sama. Jadi kayak ini senior kita harus panggil Pak atau Prof, panggil ini gitu Bu, Miss atau lain sebagainya kan. Kita bisa panggil mereka dengan nama mereka. Awal-awal memang saya kayak, waduh ini profesor saya nih, kenapa saya harus panggil namanya gitu kan. Karena budaya ketimuran atau budaya Indonesia itu masih kental kan. Respect itu attitude nomor 1 kita kan. Tapi di sana memang ternyata mereka biasa gitu panggil nama kan. Kayak misalnya Kiki, kita panggil aja Kiki, Osa gitu kan.
Bukan.
Tapi Prof Kiki atau Miss Kiki atau itu enggak gitu. Nah biasanya mereka lebih prefer their first name gitu. Jadi kayak misalnya nama saya Abdul Muin Banyal, biasanya rata-rata itu they go by their first name dan nama depan mereka kayak jadi mereka biasanya panggil Abdul atau gitu-gitu kan. Nah terus yang harus diperhatikan itu karena US itu kan terkenal dengan freedomnya kan, diversity-nya kan. Jadi pronounce itu sangat isu-isu yang sangat sensitif juga tuh pronounce soal pronounce.
Iya,
Karena di sana kayak ada teman-teman dari LGBT kan yang mereka lebih senang soal kayak pronounce-nya itu jadi they them gitu. Jadi di awal itu kayak kita sudah perkenalkan diri, kita harus sebutkan pronounce kita juga tuh.
Iya
Kayak I am Muin, he him his gitu.
Iya, I'm Kiki, she her hers
Ya,
gitu
gitu.
ya. Oke.
Terus ada juga yang they them gitu. Karena kalau ini biasa mereka kayak kurang ramah sama kita gitu kalau kita ini.
Iya, jadi pay attention mereka mau di refer as apa gitu ya.
Jadi kayak kita ini kan orang Indonesia ngomong bahasa Inggrisnya masih split-split kan antara she, he kan masih split-split tuh. Tiba-tiba muncul they, them gitu. Jadi ini kan. Tapi ya itu culture, bukan culture juga. Bagian dari culture ya kan kalau nggak salah. Ya udah kita harus hargai aja gitu karena di US kan.
Terus tadi juga ada budaya ini ya Mas ya yang bikin kaget tip. Tip maksudnya gimana nih?
Tip ini kayak teman-teman makan di restoran atau apa, biasanya budaya US itu kan kasih tip kan, tip ke pelayannya, minimal itu 10% dari bills kita gitu. Jadi kayak kita beli di Starbucks $10 ya kita bayarnya misalnya kasih tipnya $1 gitu. Nah karena kalau kita nggak ngasih tip, biasanya pelayannya tuh mukanya kayak tidak makan sebulan gitu. Jadi pastikan ngasih tip biar menyenangkan gitu, membuat senyum di wajah orang lain itu kan bagian dari pahala ya.
Oke. Alright, terus masih ada lagi Mas culture shock yang lain mungkin?
Mungkin itu aja sih.
Oke.
Terus yang ini nih. Oh ini nih. Soal greetings kan.
Nah, gimana tuh?
Kayak sapaan, mereka biasa bilang hi dude, what's up gitu.
Iya, jadi maksudnya kalau ditanya, kalau mungkin nge-greet-nya, jadi maksudnya kalau misalnya ada yang nanya how doing, bukan berarti harus dijawab I'm fine, thank you. Mungkin kayak misalnya kayak, hi Muin, how you doing?
How you doing?
Nah udah, jadi cuma saling nanya gitu doang gitu.
Gitu,
Terus,
atau how are you kayak, saya dengar kayak kita, how are you, I'm fine, thanks. Di sana kayak, gak ada sama sekali kayak gitu. Good, how are you, good. Kita belajar bahasa Inggris kayak, I'm awesome, wonderful, ternyata good.
Jadi IELTS-nya nggak usah dikeluarin ya di sana ya.
Berapa banyak adjektif wonderful, spectacular,
ya, remarkable
gitu kan. Ternyata nggak kepake, good.
I'm good. Oke, terus yang lain-lainnya gimana tuh?
Oh, ada juga kayak potluck. Potluck itu kayak ada gathering gitu, kayak kita makan sama-sama, tapi bring your own food gitu. Jadi kayak kita punya acara, kita bisa nyiapin makanan, tapi yang lain itu yang datang harus bawa makanan sendiri juga tuh. Soalnya kalau enggak, kita mukanya bisa nggak enak gitu kan. Datang bawa diri kan.
Oke, alright. Mungkin ini masih banyak banget ya materi-materinya, cuman sayangnya waktunya udah habis nih Mas. Jadi mungkin kita buka Q&A session. Ada pertanyaan mungkin dari teman-teman, mumpung kita ada Mas Muin di sini yang bisa sharing sama teman-teman terkait, iya boleh silahkan. We have here one, please. We are waiting for the mic. Oh, here we have one here at the front. Okay, thank you.
Selamat siang. Terima kasih Mbak Kiki, Mas Muin atas kesempatannya. Mungkin ada 2 atau 3 pertanyaan saja ya dari saya.
Mungkin satu aja kali ya Mbak ya, soalnya
atau 2 aja ya, 2 ya Mbak. Oke. Nego
nih ya.
Nego. Yang pertama terkait persiapan untuk menjawab pertanyaan saat masuk gate imigrasi. Saat kita mungkin gate imigrasinya itu apakah saat kita landing di Amerikanya atau saat kita misalnya transit di misalnya Dubai gitu. Nah, hal-hal apa yang perlu kita siapkan? Itu yang pertama. Lalu yang kedua tadi mungkin saya agak miss tentang liquid kalau dibawa ke baggage yang dibawa sama yang di atas itu berapa, sama kalau bawa bumbu-bumbu kayak bambu gitu, bumbu-bumbu desa gitu, itu boleh kayak kalau di Amerika suka kangen bumbu-bumbu Indonesia kan. Seberapa gitu, soalnya tadi kan ada yang Indomie yang rasa ayam boleh, tapi kalau Indomie rasa lainnya soto misalnya gimana?
Oke.
Boleh nggak? Ya mungkin itu aja ya, Mbak Kiki, makasih.
Oke, thank you. Ya, boleh langsung dijawab Mas. Jadi persiapan masuk gate mungkin.
Oke, yang pertama soal gate tadi kayaknya tidak ada pertanyaan, tidak ada wawancara pada saat transit ya. Tapi kayak di US itu biasanya pada saat kita tiba di tempat tujuan kita biasanya ditanya-tanya tuh seputar tujuan kita apa-apa kan. Tapi kalau misalnya mereka tahu kita mahasiswa biasanya pertanyaannya nggak terlalu banyak gitu. Langsung dilihat paspor kita langsung lewat gitu. Tapi kayak soal makanan tadi tuh kebalik ya, tadi bukan mie ayamnya yang dibawa tapi kayak mie soto bisa dibawa gitu, tapi nggak usah yang satu apa.
Ya. Jadi yang ada kata chickennya itu nggak bisa. Gitu.
Jadi
justru
bawa ya
yang ada
5
yang
4
lain mie goreng bisa ya.
Benar, bawa misalnya kayak 10 bungkus saja gitu cukup lah gitu kan. 10 bungkus cukup, minimal kayak misalnya tiba pertama kali mungkin makan mie kan lumayan kan. Nah, terus apa lagi tadi pertanyaan kedua?
Tadi
Liquid
tuh
ya?
bumbu-bumbu ya, bumbu-bumbu boleh bawa nggak?
Kalau bumbu-bumbu saya lupa tadi sebutkan soal Asian Store di setiap state di United States kan. Jadi kalian nggak usah kayak khawatir soal bumbu-bumbu yang pengen makan masakan Indonesia dan cari bumbu-bumbu, kalian bisa langsung ke Asian Store gitu. Jadi nggak mesti bawa dari Indonesia gitu. Kalaupun bawa ya bawa nggak yang enceran tapi yang nggak berapa bungkus saja gitu kayak bumbunya gitu. Karena di sana Asian Store kan isinya bumbu-bumbu Indonesia semua kan?
Iya benar-benar. Kayaknya di setiap states ada ya Asian Store ya, Oriental Market gitu-gitu ya. Benar. Dan biasanya jual bumbu-bumbu Indonesia gitu. Oke, I think kita udah kehabisan waktu nih Mas. Oh yang liquid gimana Mas? Yang liquid sorry.
Liquidnya gimana tadi?
Iya jadi di baggage berapa, di kabin berapa?
Oh liquid itu tadi kalau di baggage di bagasi kabin itu biasanya kurang dari 100 mili. Kalau kita taruh di bagasi biasanya itu kurang dari 200 mili. Kalau karena kalau enggak biasanya ditahan di ini tuh.
Dikeluarin itu ya. Dan don't forget ziplocknya ya.
Oh ya ziplock benar.
Iya bisa.
Bisa.
Asalkan di bawah 100 ml kalau untuk yang di cabin. Oke. Alrighty, udah semua? Aman? Mbak? Aman ya? Oke, awesome. Thank you for the question and
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing with us here and good luck on your second year.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah.
And thank you semuanya teman-teman yang sudah hadir sampai akhir. Again, congratulations on your journey. Good luck and enjoy the United States. Sekarang aku yakin semuanya pada excited gitu kan. So again, good luck. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much Mbak Kiki and Kak Abdul Muin for the very fun and wonderful session, and I hope you guys learned a lot from that session. Now we will be moving on to our third discussion session. Therefore, I would like to invite our moderator. She is an Education USA Indonesia manager. Please welcome Mbak Cendani Budi.
Alrighty, hello everyone. Masih melek, kedinginan. Maybe this is just like a test drive when you're going to the US, right? So, perkenalkan sekali lagi, nama saya Cendani Budi. I'm stationed in Makassar, and I'm very happy that we are here. This is my first video on site. So, this is the session where very important, right? Jadi silahkan siapkan pertanyaan-pertanyaan kalian seputar tentang visa, baik di online maupun di offline. And then I would like to invite our speakers, the US Visa counselors from Jakarta Embassy. Mariel Butters, please stand it to the front.
Halo, Selamat siang. Saya mau mulai dengan ucapkan selamat kepada kalian. Thank you. It's such a big journey that you're starting on. I know each of you are probably feeling a little bit nervous, but also very excited. And we definitely don't want your visa process to be part of your anxiety. So we're hoping to give you a little bit more information so you feel more prepared when you go in for your interview and when you go to travel on to the United States. So how many of you have already applied for your visa? Maybe some of you already were interviewed by me as well? Yes, I hear some yeses. Okay, so for some of you, you've already applied, so this information will be familiar to you, and then others of you still need to apply for your visa. So we'll cover a little bit of both, and we'll also be talking about maintaining status. And I know that some of you in this room are going on F1 visas, and some are going on J1s. Can I see hands for who's going on an F1 visa? Okay, and hands for J1? Okay, so it looks like we have a little bit more J1s here, but a fair number of F1s as well, so we'll cover both types of visas. How do I go to the, it's starting at the end. Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's good. Okay, so there's going to be two forms that are very important depending on your visa type. So if you are a F1 student, you'll have an I-20 visa, I-20 form issued by your school. And if you're a J1, then you'll have a DS 2019. This is one of the most important pieces of paperwork that you'll have throughout your time of studying in the United States. So once you get that form, it's really important to make sure that all the information matches the form and your passport. I know a lot of Indonesians have different names at different points in their life. You might be born with one name and then later on you add another name or maybe a third name. Just make sure that there's consistency between your current passport and your form before you even apply for your visa. And then the other important thing is to make sure that your program start date is possible. So what we see sometimes is that students will get the I-20. It says that they're starting on, let's say, August 1st, and they come in for a visa interview on July 31st. That's not possible at that point to get the visa before your program start date. So you should be applying well in advance of that program start date. After you are given your I-20 or your DS 2019, you need to go ahead and pay the SEVIS fee. Once you pay that fee, you'll get a SEVIS number. And that SEVIS number is linked to your status throughout your time in the United States. It's the number that tells consular officers, immigration, anybody at the border about your valid status within the United States. So you should pay that fee ahead of your visa interview. And you'll go on to fill out your visa application. Make sure that you put in all the relevant information. Sometimes we have people skip big sections of the form and it raises questions for the officer. If you say that you're going to do your PhD and you didn't fill any information about your undergraduate studies or your master's studies, it might raise some extra questions. And then you'll go on to complete your interview. So when you arrive for your interview, you want to make sure to bring your confirmation documents. You'll have the appointment confirmation letter, you'll have a readable barcode, and you also need to have a current photo. Actually, I think the most common reason that we have to temporarily deny a visa is because the photo doesn't comply with the expectations for photos. So it needs to be a 5x5, it needs to be on a white background, no glasses, and we need to be able to see your eyebrows, so if you have long bangs, they need to be pulled back. You also need to have your passport. I suggest you bring any of your old passports as well to the visa interview, especially if you've traveled to the United States before and you might have other valid visas. You should also have your original I-20 or DS 2019 form. Now, this is something that's just recently changed, where we now accept a copy of your DS 2019. So it's okay if you're still waiting for that original to come in the mail to go ahead and schedule your interview and come in with the copy of that form. You also need to bring the SEVIS receipt from that payment. Those are the two documents that the consular officer will collect from you, and you'll be returned those documents along with your passport once your visa is issued. Other things you might want to bring, you might be asked more about your finances. If you're on a scholarship, as I know a lot of you are in this room, it's good to have documentation associated to your scholarship just in case you're asked about it during your interview. After you've been interviewed, if your visa is issued, there is an additional student reciprocity fee. It's $195. It's actually gone down. It used to be $220, but that was reduced in June of 2023. So you'll pay that at the embassy consular cashier at the end of your interview. And you need to pay that in rupiah cash or credit card. Okay, so in terms of processing, make sure to apply as early as possible. It used to be the case that you couldn't apply until 3 months before you left for your program. Now you can apply up to 365 days before your departure date. But in any case, make sure that you apply at least a month in advance because there could be complications with your visa that require more processing time. And then once you get your visa, you're allowed to enter the United States, whether you're an F1 or a J1, 30 days in advance. So please don't enter more than 30 days, or you'll have trouble entering once you arrive at the border, and you'll be turned back to Indonesia. Now, if you do need to go to the United States earlier for some reason, you can go first on a B1, B2 tourist visa, and then later convert to your F1 or your J1. But it's quite a complicated process, and you need to make sure that you've converted status before you start your program. So we generally don't recommend people to do that unless you have some kind of compelling reason that you need to do that. And of course, you want to have friends and family come visit you during your program. So you'll want to have your friends and family apply for their tourist visas as soon as possible so that they can come and visit you in case there's other complications with their applications. Okay, so once you arrive for your visa interview, maybe you feel a little bit nervous. I'm here to assure you that consular officers love talking to F1s and J1s. You're such a great group of people, and it's always so exciting to imagine this new journey that you're embarking on. So it's okay to feel nervous, but just know that we are happy to see you. During the interview itself, I put be honest at the bottom, but that's really the most important one. You don't have anything to hide. So you can just tell the consular officer the honest answers to anything they ask. If they ask you, do you have friends or family in the United States? You can just say, oh yes, I have an uncle, he lives in California. There's no reason to hide anything about your background. Also be prepared to answer questions about your career aspirations, your study program. If you want to start a business in Jepara when you return to Indonesia, you could tell the consular officer about that as well. And also be prepared to talk about the financing of your program. So if a parent is helping pay for the program, be prepared to discuss what their job is as well. I can't tell you how many times it happens where a student doesn't actually know what their mother or father does for work. It's a good thing to know in general about your family. So be prepared to talk about that, or be prepared to talk about your scholarship. Now, your visa might be denied if you are unable to show all of the necessary documents. Most commonly, the visa is not refused completely, but it's refused temporarily, and you'll get a yellow paper. This means it's gone into administrative processing, and we're waiting for you to pay a fee or get us the I-20 or the DS 2019. It can also be denied if you are unable to show the adequate financial support that we're looking for. Okay, so once you've got your visa, it usually takes about a week after you've interviewed until you get it back in your hand. Then when you're traveling, you need to make sure that you have your passport with the valid visa in it, and also your form I-20 or your DS 2019. So that's extremely important. Make sure that you don't put those forms in your checked luggage. You need to have them in your carry-on bag, because when you arrive in the United States, the immigration is going to want to know what you're doing in the United States, and they're going to want to see that form as evidence of your status as a student or an exchange visitor. So I suggest that you make multiple copies of your form. Keep one, in your checked luggage, keep one in your carried-on luggage, maybe give some to family here in Indonesia. Maybe have an electronic copy as well that you could pull up. And then you'll also want to have the contact information of what's called your DSO, your designated school official. So your DSO is someone that you could call if you are sent into secondary inspection for any reason. If you're missing documentation, you could reach out to that person for help. So I mentioned SEVIS at the beginning. Again, this is the system that we use to track the status of a student or an exchange visitor. As long as your SEVIS is active, you're still in status within the United States. And it's also a way for schools to report how you're maintaining your status within the United States. So if you do fail to maintain your status, then there's possibilities of being denied re-entering the United States or being removed from the United States as well. So it's very important. I don't have any concerns with this group about this, but just keep in mind that this SEVIS record is permanent. So if you have any issues with your status, it could affect your future in coming back to the United States. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more detail about maintaining status. So when you travel to the United States, again, make sure that you don't go more than 30 days in advance. Once you get to the United States, you'll want to contact your DSO, your designated school official, or your program sponsor as soon as you enter, and then again once you have already arrived at the school and you're getting ready to start your program. Once you are studying in the United States, make sure you follow all the rules of your program. Make sure that you attend and pass all of the classes. You want to study full-time. This might vary from school to school, but most schools require a minimum of 12 credit hours per term. If you have any problems with your course load, then you can always talk to your DSO. Sometimes you might be eligible for a reduced course load if you're having trouble meeting their requirements. And make sure not to work without permission as well. Okay, so I've mentioned DSO a couple times. Sometimes some schools will call this a DSO, some schools will call this a program sponsor, or it could just be someone who's in an international office, like the ones that Chloe was talking about a couple sessions ago. So this will be the person that you'll reach out to if you have any questions about maintaining your status, or if you have any kind of changes within your program. So you'll want to talk to your DSO before you drop any classes, before you change your major, your program, your degree, before you transfer to a new school if you're an F1, before you take any kind of break from school. So if you have to travel back to Indonesia for a family matter, or if you have some kind of sickness that requires you to miss classes, make sure to let your DSO know. If you move to a new address, so we talked a lot about housing. Maybe in the beginning you find housing that you're not super happy about, and then later you find a better housing situation. Make sure to let your DSO know. And then also if you want to request a program extension. So any of these kind of changes, just make sure that your DSO knows, because they'll be helping to update your SEVIS and keep all of that information fresh. Okay, so a lot of you are J1s, some of you are F1s. So in general, you have to have an active SEVIS status to work. So that's going to apply to any of you. For F1s, you can work on campus around 20 hours a week. So it could be in a cafeteria, in the library, in a resident hall. And you don't need to get information from Citizen Immigration Services. After one academic year, then you're able to apply for either the optional practical training or the curricular practical training, but you have to go in and get permission. Your DOS can provide you more information on that. And for those of you who are exchange visitors, you can get compensation for any work components that are part of your program. So it could be that your program requires you to do some research that is paid, or maybe you're doing some teaching. That's perfectly fine on a J1. So after you finish your program, if you're in F1, you have 60 days to leave the United States. This is considered travel time. So you have 60 days to move out, to get your affairs in order. If you're a J1, you have to depart within 30 days. So remember, you have to leave a little bit quicker if you're a J1 than if you're an F1. And if you're thinking about extending or staying on, you'll want to talk to your DSO about different options. So you could change your educational level. So if you're going as an F1, maybe you want to continue on to a master's degree or a PhD. You can talk about extending, but your SEVIS will have to be extended as well. You could talk about changing to another visa status, for example, changing from an F1 to an H1B for different types of work. Or if you're a J1, it's possible to do another J1 consecutive to your first J1. For that, it's usually required to travel back to Indonesia first and apply for a new J1 to come back. But there are some exceptions, so make sure to verify with your DSO what the requirements are for your school and your program. I do want to talk about the 2-year residency requirement. This is very important for J1s, especially if you imagine that you might be doing more work in the United States in the future. So for certain types of J1 holders, you have to, after you finish your program in the United States, you have to return to Indonesia for 2 years before you're eligible for certain types of visas. So these include any of the immigrant visas, temporary worker visas, intercompany transferee visas, or fiancé visas. I think where people end up having a lot of challenges with this is if you go on a J1 and you meet your soulmate in the United States who happens to be an American, and then you're not able to get that fiancé visa or petition for an immigrant visa for 2 years. So that can be a little bit challenging. If you're not sure whether this applies to you or not, once you get your J1 visa, you'll be able to check. It will be written on your visa in the annotation line. It will say subject to 212E. 212E means this 2-year residency requirement. If it says not subject to, then you're good. You're not, you don't have to worry about this. Finish up with a couple frequently asked questions. So how long can I stay in the United States? It just depends on your program. I think a lot of times people get confused between the expiration date on their visa and their program date. So remember that a visa is just used for permission to enter the United States. It doesn't have anything to do with how long your actual program is. So if you, let's say that your visa expires in 2024, but your program's good till 2025, then you'll actually have to come back to Indonesia, reapply for a new visa to travel back into the United States. For most of you who are J1s, your visa will cover the entire duration of your program. Another question, my visa is expiring soon. Can I still use it to enter the United States? Yes, you can enter the United States with that visa as long as the expiration date has not passed. And just a note on renewals as well. For J1s, you're able to apply for a renewal through our interview waiver program. So if you have your first J and then you travel back to Indonesia, you want to get another visa to re-enter the United States, you can apply to get your next visa without needing to come into the embassy to re-interview. Unfortunately for Fs, that's not a possibility yet. And then last question, my visa is expired and I'm in the United States, what do I do? That's perfectly fine, actually. I know it feels really strange, but you can stay in the United States on an expired visa as long as you're still maintaining your student status. So again, the visa is only about entry to the United States. So there's some students who go and they stay for 4 years. They're taking all their classes. They're doing everything necessary to maintain their status. And during that time, they never went back to Indonesia. Their visa ends up expiring, and they can continue to stay on. But the moment that you travel home or to another country, you need to make sure that your visa is valid. The expiration date has not passed before you re-enter the United States. All right, so congratulations again. And I'll leave you with a couple of these websites if you want to jot them down for any other questions or information that you might need. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much, Bu Mariel. All right. Please take a seat. We might have a lot of questions. But before that, I would like to say kita akan buka pertanyaan untuk on-site for 4 people first, okay? 2 for J1 and 2 for F1. And then we will have someone from online as well, okay? So maybe now we start with J1 first, I think. Okay, so the first question, please raise your hand if you have questions about J1. Di belakang, yang paling belakang, ya, boleh di belakang sama nanti di depan ya. Okay.
So hi, my name is Alana and I'll be applying for a G1 visa for my exchange program in East Lansing, Michigan State University. So I would like to ask about the financial requirements of the documents since the scholarship that I'm applying for only covers half of our funds. They only cover for the studying fees and for the international travels. Since we have to also prepare for extra documents, do we have to prepare for some template that the U.S. Embassy have prepared for our additional financial documents, or do you have any examples of what documents should we prepare before our interview session? Thank you. That's my question.
Thank you so much for the question and congratulations on your program. So the answer is that you don't need to have any specific template or any specific formatting to the documents that you bring. It's very uncommon that the consular officer will actually ask to see any financial documents. Usually they'll just look to see whether you can explain how you're planning to pay for the program. So if you give an answer that makes sense, it's very unlikely that they'll ask to see any documents. That being said, be prepared to talk about your parents' employment, maybe details about where that employment is. If you wanted to bring any supporting documents, it might be bank statements from your parents' accounts if they're supporting you, or some kind of letter from their office verifying what their employment is.
Okay, thank you. Pertanyaan kedua, Mbak yang di depan. Ya. Teman-teman online juga silahkan ya, kalau misalnya ada pertanyaan mau di Facebook, YouTube, ataupun di Zoom, silahkan di chat box, nanti teman kami akan, ya, baik, silahkan.
Thank you. So, good morning, my name is Aline and I have a question about J1. So, some academic programs have like capstone projects or academic internships, and they're sometimes usually outside of US. So, and usually it's between the summer between first and second year, right? So in that case, sometimes that student will, the visa will be expired. So I understand that we need to have the visa renewed to re-entry to US. In that case, could you share information, like do we have to have it renewed in our home country, or as long as there's a US embassy, or can we do it remotely or something like that? Thank you.
Hi there, thank you for the question. So to answer your question, you have the right to apply at any U.S. embassy or consulate anywhere in the world. So if you had an internship in Mexico, for example, you could submit all your documentation there to get the new and valid visa. You're also welcome to send the documents to Indonesia. It might be a little bit harder. But some embassies that are closer to the United States have longer wait times. So that might be an option if you wanted to apply for the interview waiver program for your second J1.
Thank you. Alright, we hold for J1s. Nanti kalau misalnya masih ada waktu kita akan kembali ke J1. Jadi sekarang buat teman-teman F1, maybe you have questions? Oke, satu di sini, satu lagi. Boleh, F1 ya. Baik, yang di sini dulu masnya. Ya.
Hello, my name is Alif and I have a question about the F1 visa. What happens when my passport expires first, but my visa is still active?
That's a great question, and we see that a lot. So even if your passport has expired, as long as your visa is still valid, you can use that visa to enter the United States. So you'll just want to travel with your old passport that has your valid visa inside and your new valid passport at all times. So just make sure to have both documents with you. Some people don't feel so comfortable with that, so they just end up renewing the visa and getting a new visa put into their current passport, but it's not necessary.
Okay, thank you very much.
Does it apply to J1 visa as well, right?
Yes, it applies to all visa types.
Oke, baik. Pertanyaan yang kedua, Mbaknya, silahkan minta tolong mic-nya.
All right, thank you very much. My name is Indy, and I'll be pursuing my master's degree in the school counseling program at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. So since my program requires both internships and practicums, then I will definitely need the social security number. So my question is, can I apply or obtain that social security number several months prior to my enrollment in May 2024? Or if not, then when is the proper time to apply for that number? And then if I want to continue working on the placement side several days or for the rest of my days in the United States, do I need to renew my visa, or is there any other administrative process that I need to do for continuing working for the rest of my days in the United States? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Another great question. So for your social security number, my understanding is that you can apply for that maximum of 30 days before your program. So unfortunately, you won't be able to apply a couple months in advance, but at least 30 days before. And you'll apply for that through the Department of Homeland Security. So I think I might have put the website here. Yes, so if you go to the www.ice.gov/SEVIS, the very last link there, you should find more information about how you proceed with that application for the Social Security number. And they will correspond with you as well about how long you can maintain that Social Security number, or at what point you have to forego continual use with that Social Security number. So it'll just depend on your situation, whether you can continue to use it through your entire enrollment period or whether it's only for a year or less.
Okay, thank you. I actually have a question, but before that, maybe teman-teman online mungkin bisa chat ya di chat box. Silahkan kalau misalnya ada pertanyaan, we can open 2 pertanyaan dari online juga. So, the question is about CPT and OPT. So there's a confusion whether you can work CPT for 6 months, for example. I don't know, like you can probably clarify that. And then perhaps the internship lasts longer. For example, it's a 1-year contract, for example. And then is it true that your OPT period is going to be used for that, or how does it apply for that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think a lot of people are a little confused about the difference between CPT and OPT. So OPT is only used at the end of your program or on summers between semesters where you're an enrolled student. And it has to be a summer between a semester where you're intending to continue with your coursework. For CPT, it's during the semester itself. So CPT only is valid when you're actually taking courses at the same time. So as soon as you enter into any period or any gap between study, then it becomes an OPT.
Okay, thank you. That's a very clear explanation because, there's a lot of confusion about that. Oke, teman-teman online mungkin ada pertanyaan? Ya, baik. Kalau tidak ada pertanyaan, saya buka lagi ya pertanyaan di sini. Maybe we can have one more from J1 and one more from F1. J1 questions, specific, anything, or maybe parents. Ada lagi? Nggak ada? Jelas? Yakin? Nggak ada trouble? Okay, F1? I think we're good.
It's great. It's clear as mud.
Maybe I have a question. So it's about the family that you bring, maybe the J2 of, So for example, like the LPDP sponsored students, they can bring their family. So how does it apply for the wife or the dependents? How do they, day to day, like work or go to school, or how does it apply? Maybe you can explain that a little bit.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit more about J2s in general. So when you're applying for your spouse or your child to come on a J1 with you, they'll get a second DS 2019 that's completely unique to them. And when they come into the interview, you'll also be asked questions about your relationship. You may be expected to show a kartu keluarga or your birth certificate to show your relationship to that person. And then once they get to the United States, your J2 spouse might be eligible to work. And that's also decided by Department of Homeland Security. So you'll want to go and apply for a social security number for your J2 spouse. And the same rules apply as we discussed earlier with the F1 situation, where you can apply for that at least 30 days before you depart.
Okay, all right. I open last chance. Anybody? Okay, ada. Silahkan masnya di belakang.
Okay, thank you for the time. My name is Naufal, and I am going to Michigan State University for an exchange program. So my question is, we have like an end date on our J1 visa. It's 15th of December. Is it actually okay if we like extend it a little bit more, maybe 2 to 5 days? Because I am kind of afraid if we have the flight after the end date to go back to Indonesia. That's my question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your question. So if your end date is in December, then you still have 30 days to leave the United States. So you have that 30-day cushion, which you can use for travel or any other purpose. So 5 days is perfectly fine to extend past that end date. And you don't need to go through any kind of official extension process.
Oke, ya. Baik. Ada pertanyaan lagi? Yakin? Sounds good. Alright, everybody, thank you very much. Terima kasih, Mariel.
Thank you
and congratulations once again. And then we'll see you in the US. Kami kembalikan ke MC ya.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone. And thank you so much, everyone. That wraps up our event for today. And thank you to our speakers and also moderator as well for sharing to us their experiences and also knowledge. And lastly, we would also like to once again say congratulations for your acceptance and also good luck for your study in the US. And if anyone here is interested in attending more events in AT America, don't forget to follow us on our social medias at AT America and also our website at www.atamerica.or.id. Once again, thank you so much everyone for joining us today and see you soon at the next AT America event. Thank you everyone.